validation, now I validate myself. Building inner strength, putting doubt up on the shelf. No more unnecessary drama, no more wasted time. Climbing higher constantly, making my own climb. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. My network is my net worth. Choose your company wise. Surround yourself with eagles, not with sheep in disguise. Every interaction is a reflection of my brand. Quality over quantity, that's my personal command. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. Whoa. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision. Cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision. Cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision. Cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield.
All right. How you doing, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to This and That. I'm your host, Xander, where we're talking about this, that, and everything in between. Yeah, we had us a wild one today, but we did it. We managed to get in here. Like I said, I was going to do, typically we're a tad bit late, like we always are. No matter when I set the time, we're always going to end up after that. But I did manage to get the rest of the weekend set up. As far as the show is booked on YouTube, we still got to get the SEOs in there. I'm trying to stay on top of these SEOs because, I got to do the whole platform, come up with the script, all this other stuff, then do the research for the show. And I got a lot of things going on. Even today, Thursday being my day off, I had so many things that I needed to do that I have not stopped moving since I got up. And it turned out that just as sure as I took a 5-minute break to breathe, I was like, I got to do this show. So can't let the sun rise without going live. I keep telling y'all that. So welcome to This and That. I'm your host, Xander, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between. And today we're going to be talking about what do women really think that you guys are worth here in 2025. And ladies, today's the day for y'all to chime in and tell us what y'all think. So if y'all got some questions and comments, y'all got some, keep them appropriate now. And I'm going to let y'all know we got some jits up in here. We got some little jitterbugs over here that come in on a regular basis, learn something and talk about stuff. And they like Nico, the young bucks, the wise young men under the age of 18. We do got some that like to clown a little bit, but for the most part, we got some young adults that want to learn some stuff. And so we want to keep the comments remotely clean. There is going to be some adult language, keep in mind, because it is an adult platform, but we want to try to stay on the more appropriate side of things. Likewise, as you guys can see, a special shout out to Twitter and Twitch. For those of you that are watching from over there, special shout out to Red Void and Omni81. I really appreciate you for coming through. Danny Steffen, I really appreciate you for swinging by on Twitch, YouTube, as well as Twitter. So there's always that opportunity, but you can click the link in the comment section. You can approve the mic, approve the camera, it brings you into the green room, and we can tell that you are here. Once I confirm that you're over the age of 18, bring you on to the show live, and you can be seen by everybody and your homies. You want to keep your appearance appropriate, so I will be looking at that camera before I put you up on the screen for everybody else to look at that same camera. Now, you got the ability to turn your camera off before you go onto the screen, and I can cue you up and let you know that you're about to go on so that you can turn your camera off if you don't want to be seen. But outside of that, hey, get up here and say what you got to say and be bold about it. Put it on your face, right? A special shout out to Bayside, Rev Cap 76, and Mr. Satellite. I know they're going to be sliding in pretty soon. Special shout out to Usman. I know he's going to be sliding in pretty soon. And as you guys start falling in, we'll be giving y'all some intros like I've been doing. Get y'all a little bit of a 15, 20 seconds of fame intros when y'all start falling in onto the show today. So just hang out, enjoy the ride. And note that we could always potentially slide this conversation straight on into a stock and bond conversation like we did last week. But for the most part, the goal is to provide you guys with some insight and some knowledge. And we're going to be talking about some stuff. And y'all can chime in and cue everything up and let us know what y'all think. So without further ado, that's a pretty short intro. Let's stir the pot a little bit, y'all. Let's stir the pot a little bit. So today, I'm not just tiptoeing. I'm diving head first into this real, unfiltered opinion that women have about why guys actually worth it. And we're gonna talk about. Now, this is from a man's perspective of women's observations. So, ladies, if y'all think that y'all know this more than I do, feel free to chime in. But if you think that I'm not wrong, I can accept your silence as an admission of guilt. And trust me, this information is not what most men want to hear. So some of this is going to be some stuff that some ladies aren't going to be wanting to hear either. And I'm okay with that. Make sure that you guys like and subscribe. Utilize those reaction buttons as you fall in. Now, we're about to challenge some sacred cows and ruffle a few feathers. Okay, so buckle up. Here we go. The uncomfortable truth. A lot of guys still believe that women are obsessed with looks, wealth, and status. I'm one of those guys. And honestly, some women are. You've got the hair glued to the scalp. You've got the edge control glued to the scalp. You've got the eyebrows shaved and the eyelashes glued on, and nothing about you is original. And we're supposed to accept you who you are, but you don't do what, I don't know. It's a long story, but some women are. Now, let's stop pretending that that's the whole story, though. So the reality is women are way more selective and strategic about what they value in men than most men are willing to admit. And sometimes what women say they want and what they actually go for are two completely different things. Now, large-scale international studies reveal that kindness and intelligence top the list of desirable traits in a long-term partnership. And in a 2019 survey of over 68,000 people from 180 countries, 88.9% of women rated kindness as a very important trait in a partner with intelligence following closely behind that. Dependability and reliability are also crucial. 3 out of 4 women, which is about 75%, say they look for a man who makes commitments and follows through, signaling the responsibility and trustworthiness are highly valued. Faithfulness is another priority. It's a top priority, as a matter of fact, with about 84% of women ranking it among the most attractive qualities in a man. And these preferences are rooted in evolutionary psychology, as women historically sought partners who could provide stability and support for raising offspring. Now, emotional intelligence and support are increasingly important in modern relationships, where studies show that women today seek partners who are honest, self aware, and capable of expressing their emotions in a healthy way. In fact, women desire open communication, active listening, and vulnerability from their partners, moving away from the outdated notions that men should be stoic and emotionally distant. Now, a sense of humor also ranks highly, where research published in evolutionary psychology found that women associated humor with intelligence and socially adeptness. So, being able to um, interact with people in a public place, kind of a pretty cool thing if you're able to express that sense of humor, but they're not really all that keen on dark humor a lot of the times. But still, having a sense of humor is a universally attractive trait. Notice we're not tap dancing down the road of physical appearance. Ambition and drives are some similar important aspects, as single men potentially for future success are looked after with these particular types of traits, where these men have the ability to contribute to a stable family. So yeah, they do look for ambition and drive in a man. We do come across a lot more women that look for the finished product, though. Now, we have physical attractiveness as well, and the financial resources do play a role here, but their importance is often an overstatement. While women may prefer better looking men for short term flings, for long term relationship, qualities like kindness and dependability and emotional presence are prioritized. Interestingly enough, studies show that younger women place more emphasis on a partner's future wealth potential, while older women prioritize immediate support and practical help, especially if children are involved. So we realize that the younger generation has more of a tenacity for what he could be, whereas the middle-aged women that are less valuable to men are sought at seeking the kind of man who already has it. Now, this is something that we've talked about quite a few times in the past, where the men are looking for a partner that's willing to grow with them, not just wait for the finished product. A lot of the women are enjoying the pleasures of life in their younger ages, between 17, 16, 15, all the way up to like 30. And then after they retire out of the game, they typically start looking for the guy. And while they're looking for the guy, they're looking for the guy that already has it. Now, this total package behavior leads to the stigma that we've been talking about on this show multiple times over the past year, that women are more often than not, when deciding to settle down in their middle ages, looking for the finished product instead of looking for the potential product in their younger years, where they could have made the man from 18 to 28 And I've given you guys the ability where women could take a 40 or $50,000 a year man and make that $1 million relationship in 10 years, where she met him at 18. She had the right mentality. He had the right drive and ambition, and they could work together for 10 years, short mistakes and failures along the way, and make themselves millionaires inside of 10 years, so that by 28, 30 years old, including mistakes, that they would be rich, or at least wealthy enough where they could quit working and live off of their investments. And the fact is that the modern society, people don't think that way. So once we pulled out the numbers, a lot of people were frustrated, especially the women. They were frustrated and upset about that, and I'm okay with it. But I had to tiptoe across that, because the middle-aged women are looking for immediate support and practical help. So they're not looking for what you can be. If she's 30, 35 years old, you're 35, 40 years old, and you might be financially successful at 50, she ain't trying to talk to you. She's trying to talk to the guy that's 45, 50 years old, has already got his stuff together, because now that she's ready to be stable, she needs the man to already be stable. When she was okay with being unstable, she wasn't looking for a man. And that was when she could have found a man with potential and turned that man into a stable option. Relationship satisfaction is closely tied to perceptions of parity in attractiveness and value. For example, 42% of women who perceive their partner as equally attractive report being completely satisfied in their relationships, compared to only 24% of those who see themselves as more attractive than their partners. When women perceive a mate value discrepancy, believing they are of higher value than their partner, both partners tend to exhibit more controlling behaviors, which can negatively affect a relationship's satisfaction. So if she thinks that she's better than him, then she's going to behave less appropriate for the relationship than what she would if she would have thought that she was equal to him. And women are not willing to expect themselves or extend themselves to the ideology that they might be less than the man, and that turns into a whole nother ball game. But before we dive into that, we're going to give a special shout out to Mr. Sal. So here he is, first one tonight, and he's going to be dancing on top of the Trappist 1C. I'm sitting over here thinking, where is the Trappist? We'll find it. And make sure that y'all like and subscribe as y'all come in. And y'all will be able to catch all of these songs from the Higher Ground album that is located in the description. Gotta do this. Standing on higher ground. I love that. I could probably do it well if I was at a karaoke bar. I wonder if I could bring this to a karaoke spot. We'll see in the future. Moving on. In addition to all of the issues we just finished talking about, trust and honesty are fundamentals, where nearly 50% of people in monogamous relationships have affairs, making honesty and transparency especially critical for women seeking secure, committed partnership. So women are looking for more honesty and transparency than men are. Men are just looking for you to show up on time with that plate of food. Now, women want to feel seen, heard, and respected, with their boundaries and autonomy acknowledged and valued as well. I'm not sure why they don't believe that their partners should feel the same way, but a lot of the expectations that women place on men does not provide the men with the equal accessibility to being seen, heard, and respected, or having any type of respect for boundaries, autonomy, or acknowledgement, or any type of value. And usually when a man complains about these things, women like to shame him for it. We're not going to go into that today, not yet at least, because, it's a raw dog topic. Now, while societal expectations and media portrayals often focus on superficial qualities, the evidence shows that women's perception of men's worth are multifaceted, with kindness, dependability, emotional intelligence, and trustworthiness consistently emerging as the most important factors in building lasting, meaningful relationships on paper. But let's talk about the elephant in the room real quick. There is a double standard at play, as I just mentioned. Society tells men to be stoic, successful, and self-sufficient, but when men chase these ideals, they're often criticized for being shallow, emotionally unavailable, or in any way, shape, or form a dick. That's what they're going to do it. They're going to devalue and degrade the man. Meanwhile, women are applauded for seeking emotional connection and vulnerability, but rarely called out for prioritizing the security or status when it suits them. And I'm going to be real with you. What we have a lot of the times is that the women will shame the men for doing the same thing that women do and then applaud the women when the women do it. And I have not understood the dynamic of that, because if it is wrong when one person does it, it's wrong when everyone does it. If it's right when one person receives that, it should be right that everybody receives the same thing. That's just uniform. And that's the closest thing to equality that a society of different aspects can get coming together. But unfortunately, the defense is that that's not the case, that uniformity doesn't apply to women. The women must receive and the men must give. And I don't understand why that dynamic is still being enforced from the feminist mentality. Because, I mean, if you've got men that says, yeah, women should be treated equal to men, but that also means that women should have the same responsibilities that men have, which means that women must step up to the plate and be responsible, not combative. And then they could become more of a partner in a relationship. It's a trick of the trade that not too many people think about. But many women value the wisdom, life experience, and confidence that often comes with age. So older men are often perceived as more emotionally mature, stable, and experienced, which many women find appealing, where older men are more likely to be established in their careers, offering a sense of financial stability, and younger men may not provide this. Older men may be more ready for long-term commitment, aligning with the women who are seeking stable or family lifestyles. So if they're looking for that stability or they're looking for that long-term relationship, they're typically going to find that more often from the older men. And here comes the double standard. Well, why are men shamed for dating younger women when women are seeking older men for all of these positive traits that typically only come out of men when men are in their mid to late 40s or later? Despite the near universality of these preferences, men who date significantly younger women often face social stigma and accusations for predatory behavior. Several factors contribute to these. First thing on the list is that women have a self-perceived power imbalance, where large age groups, especially when the man is older, are often viewed with suspicion because potential power dynamic exists there. There is a concern that the older men may exploit younger women who might be seen as more vulnerable or less experienced. And I'm going to be honest with you that the older men could be just as easily manipulated by the younger women as the younger women could be manipulated by the older men. Likewise, older women can manipulate younger men just as easily as younger men can manipulate older women. It's not, the fact that age or gender doesn't really play a catalytic decision factor in manipulation, in like the savviness or calculative behavior of the individual, at least not from my perspective. And the reason why I throw up the question about this is because for a woman to say that a man is more manipulative, manipulative uh, would imply that the women are more weak-minded and unable to recognize bullshit on the table. And I disagree with that. I believe that you know what's going on, just like the little girl that got peed on by R. Kelly. You had to stand there and wait for him to release his bladder on you. Therefore, you knew it was coming and you didn't get out of the way. He didn't chase you around the house. You stood there in the money shot pose and waited for that action to occur. There was even a delay from when his fly unzipped until the actual activity. So just because the action in and of itself is unlawful and the man is going to pay the price, both parties willfully participated in that particular scenario. There was no deceit there. There was no trick like, oh, go grab me a cup. And then turns out that I'm actually the water fountain kind of thing. None of that stuff happens. But always the lack of responsibility is required in order for individuals not to take first person accountability for their decisions, which also means that they have to blame somebody else. And typically, not saying that what the guy did wasn't wrong, but there are no victims involved in this situation because the party who received waited for the reception the same way the party that delivered waited for the delivery. Therefore, equal parties are equally responsible for their bad decision making. Now, in these relationships with older men and younger women, it's going to be the same dynamic, that a woman that is looking for stability and is willing to provide compliance for that stability gets that stability. She's not manipulated or controlled. He is willfully giving up his capital for her to give him compliance with his expectations. And if she is willing to do that, he's not being manipulated by her. They got a lot of men that people that say, oh, well, he's a sugar daddy because he's paying for this, that, and the third. Well, if he's getting what he wants out of the woman and she's doing what it takes to get the money, then more often than not, you're kind of meeting that dynamic. However, there are those adult freelance situations where he's not getting what he needs. She's just doing what he paid her to do in that moment, like Backpage. That's not the same. It's transactional. He's renting the girl. But the fact is that in a relationship, when a man is providing her with a stable living situation, that stable living situation comes with responsibilities. The party that doesn't put in effort to bring in capital is supposed to be putting in effort in other places to make sure that the rest of the household is taken care of, while the person that's putting in the effort to bring in extra capital is working all of the time to bring in the extra capital. I can tell you that I even had the same upbringing in my household when I was younger. The individuals who had jobs, who had to go to work, put in more effort bringing in the money, and the individuals who did not have to leave to go to work put extra effort in keeping the house in order so that the house was not a disaster area when the hardworking people came back to the house to enjoy the house. So you had the people who did what it took to take care of the people that wasn't going anywhere, and then you had the people who had nothing to do, make sure that the people who had to leave all the time had the stuff taken care of when they got back. So you have people who don't work that's doing laundry that's not theirs, because the people who go to work all the time don't got time to do laundry. The people who don't got to go to work is doing dishes that's not theirs, because the people who's going to work all the time don't always have the time or the energy to knock those dishes out. That's just the small pieces of the puzzle. We talk about this all the time. Back in the early 70s and late 50s, when the women used to pay the bills while the men was out at work, before we had auto pay and automatic bill pay and online payment systems, we had a scenario where the women would have to go and pay the bills while the man was at work, regardless of whether he was at work during the day and didn't get off until the company closed, or if he was in a situation where he was sleeping while the place was open because he works overnight. Regardless of the fact is that if he did not have the day off to go and pay the bills on time, she would go and pay the bills on time, because back in those days we paid everything in person. That was back when men had women of value, because the women kept the ship afloat while the man was on shore, and then when he came back to the boat, the ship was still sailing. These days a man's got to be in two places at once, because he has to sail the ship, because it's the man's job to sail the ship, and then he still has to abandon ship and go take care of stuff on shore. And we have not determined why that mentality has not changed from the feminist 2025 women, where they're not thinking differently and say, hey, I should probably be more of a partner, because when they say that they bring value to the table because of their education and their assets, and their assets are taking care of themselves, their assets are not going 100% into the relationship. If a woman was to say that I'm valuable because I have a $70,000 a year job, that only matters if you're going to pay for the standard of living. That only matters if you're going to, if your education, like you say that you got a college degree, you got a degree in business. Well, if your degree is going to help me run this business, then your education is valuable. But if you just got a degree because it's a piece of paper, and then you don't even know what a Bitcoin is, and you can't help me invest in nothing, I got to teach you, your education isn't valuable. Not to this operation. It's like when you go to college to get you a degree in something, and then you come to find out that degree ain't got nothing to do with what you're doing for work. If your degree ain't got nothing to do with what you're doing in your relationship, your degree is not valuable. Now, we do have media and social commentary that frequently frames older men with younger women as predatory, or labeling women as gold diggers, reinforcing negative stereotypes. Because, I mean, let's face it, a lot of the times you see these gold digger videos all over social media, where this guy is usually standing somewhere within eyesight of an expensive car. He tries to talk to the girl on foot, wearing regular street clothes. She's not interested. And then he makes his way to the car. You know that when you allow the shutdown to happen, that everybody who had some kind of interest in you typically does a look back 3 to 5 seconds after they walk off from you. And when they look back, they see you making your way to this expensive car. And when they see you making your way to this expensive car, they stop and watch and see you get in that car. And then they scurry their way over there to go talk to you while you're in that car. I'm going to be honest. Every woman, I don't care if you're a gold digger or not. I don't. I just want to tell you this real quick. To keep from being caught up in one of them gold digger trap videos, the same way the folks in the hood learned in the 90s not to get caught on that bait car series. You remember back in the day, y'all, I know some of y'all know this, and y'all in y'all 30s, y'all remember that show Bait Cars, where the police used to put a car in the middle of nowhere with the engine running, sometimes doors sitting open, and they had cameras all over the car, and people used to jump in them and joyride in them, and then the car would lock all the doors and shut the engine off, and then the police would roll up and arrest the folks. After, I think, season 1, they might have got to season 2, and people started catching on and saying, nah, nowadays you would be safer leaving your car sit somewhere with the engine running and the doors open, because people will be afraid that might be a trap, as opposed to having the engine off with the keys inside and the doors locked. You would probably be, by the mentality of the generation that's seen Bait Car series, you would probably be safer leaving your car with the engine running and the doors open. Because who the fuck does that? Right? Now, think about this, ladies. Y'all don't want to get caught in that gold digger trap, right? It makes sense. If you see a man, he approaches you, he starts talking to you, you're not interested, genuinely not interested. If you shut him down, it don't matter what he's walking back to. If he's walking back to a Porsche, Lamborghini, a Bugatti, it don't matter. If you were not interested when he was walking, you should not be interested in him while he's driving a fancy car. That is where the gold digger stereotype kicks in, because your whole attitude changes when you go back and approach the same guy that you just rejected solely because you see him in an expensive car. That expensive car could be a rental. That expensive car could be his entire estate because he could have wasted all of his money on that car. And if he wasted all his money on that car, he's too broke to take care of you. You're looking for stability. You're looking for security. You're looking for responsibility. If his standard of living cannot support that car, he might have that car for today, because you have what, eToro and some of those other places where you could rent cars from personal owners and ride it around for today. He's out there doing a gold digger skit, and you out there falling prey to that because you're a gold digger mentality, running over there because he got the car today. But then when he pick you up in a Fiat or something else, a Mini Cooper or something ridiculous like tiny something or other that's not that Porsche, Lamborghini, Bugatti, whatever, or if he shows up in an old beat up Nissan Maxima or something like that, your perception of him will change, because you only was talking to the guy because you thought he had money. And that's where the gold digger stereotypes come from. If he did not have money, you would have disrespected and degraded and devalued the man until he left you alone. But if he would have been throwing money in the air as he walked by you, you would be following him around to get as much money as you can. That is also a broke mentality, not just a gold digger mentality. That is a broke mentality. The thirst and desire for financial comeuppance without having to put in much effort is followed by the desperation effort. And that desperation effort is doing whatever it takes, including OnlyFans, to make a buck. And that is one of the things that a lot of these females are not paying attention to when they out there getting themselves caught up. He said, said. Bayside's coming in first time tonight, second guy here. We going through it because we're about to get into the hard stuff. We're talking about the light side of things. We just tiptoed into the hard stuff. We're about to get into the hard stuff. Make sure that y'all like and subscribe as y'all pop in. I see you, brother. He said, my dude, I'm back.
My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground.
There we go. You gotta put that one there.
My network is my network. Choose your company wise. Surround yourself with
we rock out a little bit most of the time. Oh, look at this. Realize that it's like 11 o'clock. Midnight. I know some people are like, Happy New Year. You know what I noticed? Usman said yesterday that I'm always wearing something shiny when I'm about to get in here and start talking about some social interaction dysfunction. I just noticed that. I'm like, I just seen that. I grabbed this because I was like, you know, I want to wear a nice outfit. I put this on and I realized he just said yesterday, you ain't throwing on something shiny when you're about to say get in line. All right, we're about to get back to it. I love this hook though. Raising the bar, breaking ground. I know I'm going to be throwing that into the videos. Oh, I definitely. Oh yeah, I'm about to shine on these. oh, real quick. So, they just got us the stuff for the Fit Chef, so I got to go take a look at that today. And I still got to go back and talk to Dina Montiello about the Vino Cato wine to see what she's going to be doing. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a video out of each time that I have talked about her product on the show, piece it together, and then send it to her so that she can see, like, y'all have been waiting on this and I haven't been able to produce it. But I do got to talk to her about how because I was going to buy it myself and get it in here. And for some reason I couldn't get past the PayPal payment option. And PayPal is supposed to be easy. You should be able to just log in with your PayPal account and make the purchase. Well, I went there and I tried to log in and couldn't make the purchase. I'm like, what the hell? I tried to set up an account, couldn't make the purchase. I'm like, what the hell? I'm like, all right, this is fishy. So I'm gonna try it again and I'm gonna see what happens. And then if it's getting, because she's supposed to be sending me a complimentary bottle of wine. So I'm if I buy 2 bottles, it's $50. They got like what $7-8 worth of shipping, but they're gonna give you free shipping if you buy 2 bottles. And that's going to be equivalent to like $21 a bottle at Walmart if you was going to buy yourself some bottled wine now, some bottled wine out of the liquor section. So it's still good because it's something that we're going to cook with. And 1 to 2 glasses of wine a day helps with thinning the blood out and helps with circulation, which prevents you from having to deal with medications with high blood pressure medications, which prevents you from having to deal with medications you can't afford or even more poor health that could be otherwise regulated. Now, this isn't us turning bottles upside down, just trying to get smashed on the show. We're literally going to be trying to fit this into a lot of the recipes that we're supposed to be getting from Fit Chef. So every time we do something with Fit Chef, we're going to be trying to partner it with a Vino Cotto wine. And that's why it's encouraging her to, hey, let's get this going, because all of this is going to be coming together. Basically, I say, you're saying that as I'm eating ice cream, now I feel guilty. Well, you go ahead and eat the ice cream, because Fit Chef is supposed to be some meals that's supposed to help you out and improve your physical condition. We were talking yesterday about how the dairy isn't good for people, but ice cream is delicious. I love ice cream, and not all the ice cream is made from actual cow's milk. Some of them use coconut milk, some of them use soy milk. So you can enjoy your ice cream. It's just we're supposed to be like, when I recommend something to you guys, I don't recommend stuff for the sake of high value promotions or some type of name brand, something or other. I promo stuff to you that has actual value. So the goal and expectation there is to show you guys what it is, what it does, how good it is. Then you can see it, like it, pick it up for yourself. The same way I show you guys about how the stocks are that are available, that are reasonable, and you get those, pick them up. I just received dividend distributions from Global Net. That one is a quarterly ETF, and they just paid out today. So when I'm telling you guys about putting your money where your money needs to go, I'm also telling you guys about investing in ways to do things better, because the thing is that you have more money to invest when you're not spending as much money. If you got to pay extra money for the doctor because your chest hurts, or you can't breathe that well, or you got a lot of migraines, you could probably save money on that walk-in fee and drink your glass of wine or two. You could save money if you mitigate your migraines with aspirin, Tylenol, or ibuprofen. You could mitigate that same migraine with 1 or 2 glasses of wine. Now, the problem is that a lot of us are second, third, fourth generation career alcoholics, and once we start drinking, we don't stop. So that is the only issue that we have with that. But you also have to understand that a lot of us are second or third generation removed from Woodstock, where everybody was popping mollies and beans and opioids and angel dust and marijuana with 13 different colors. And now we've got marijuana in 40 different colors, almost like Baskin Robbins of blow. And the fact is that we could find ourselves addicted to medication the same way we can find ourselves addicted to alcohol. We just have to do stuff in moderation. So a glass is typically an 8-ounce glass that is 2 to 4 ounces of alcohol. So a 4 to 8 ounce glass is enough once a day, not 2 8-ounce glasses. Notice when you see on a lot of those TV shows, the high scale people are sitting there with their, 6-inch glass, with it like swig at the bottom. They typically 2 to 3 seconds of pouring, and that's it. And they sit there and they swirl it around and they sniff it and they swirl it around and they sip it and they swirl it around and they swallow. And that's it, bro. That's it. They're not, tall glass after tall glass. Champagne bottles or champagne glasses are 25% of the cup. Even though it's a tall stem cup, it's 25% of the cup. That's it. That's all you're supposed to be doing. Bayside said, yo, Xander, you're on point with that about milk. I gave up milk. there's no adult mammal that drinks milk. No adult mammals that drink milk. And truth of the matter is that the only real milk that is good for humans is female breast milk. And that's what I was telling you guys the other day. Is a lot of these women could get milked and make you some really good white Russians. I understand that that's not going to be FDA certified, but and women are going to frown upon that. But I mean, let's be honest. Genetically speaking, the nutrients in a female, and this is going to be another thing for those women that decide later on in life that they want to start becoming mothers. The nutrients that you carry in your body as a female should already be there before you start trying to conceive, not when you start trying to conceive, because the genetic changes in your body, because your body changes every 10 years. And the genetic changes in your body that's going to occur from the lack of nutrients is going to change the type of child that you were hoping you were going to have. And then on top of that, when you start breastfeeding the child, whatever's been in your system is going into the development of the milk, and that's going into the child. And then the child is going to consume that. So outside of the child being born from your lifestyle choices, the child will also have to adhere to your lifestyle choices. So if women took better care of themselves without all the partying and the drinking and the upside down keg stands and stuff to that effect, and being ran through by the whole football team before they're 18, and start focusing more on purity and keeping themselves like cleansed, they would, when they do have children, they'd have healthier children. That's just across the board. That's not, telling them how to live their lives. That's just saying, hey, you could your kid would be born without ADHD if you wasn't, taking ecstasy and popping mollies every weekend with the friends until you find out that you're pregnant. Just saying. He said, but I do cheat here and there with ice cream and maybe a little milk in my coffee. Well, I do powdered milk more often than not. I'm not supposed to eat soy. I mean, I do eat soy because soy is a preservative and it's in almost everything, but I don't eat large concentrations of soy. And the weird thing is that when I do dairy milk, I want to say it's dairy milk. I want to say it's dairy milk because I use like coffee creamers, a liquid creamer, but that's the only thing I'm putting in my coffee when I'm doing the liquid creamers. A lot of the times I would instead use the powdered cream and then use a little bit of sugar, and that's it. I say a little bit of sugar, but it's like like we make Kool-Aid, a little bit of sugar. But I'm doing a 36-ounce cup of coffee because y'all see I be sitting over here with this gigantic 36. This is a jumbo size cup of coffee. And you know those Keurigs with the little coffee cup, and it's one per coffee cup, and I use that Keurig and make me an oversized cup of coffee. Now you could take some Kahlua or some Bailey's Irish cream and top that off in your coffee instead of the dairy. And not only would you get your one glass of alcohol in for the day, keep your blood thin, keep your headaches down, but you're on your way to work without a care in the world because you done got your swig on. Can't nobody mess up your high. You're going to keep your buzz and do what you do. So that's another way to get it done, because Bailey's Irish Cream and Kahlua doesn't actually have as strong of an alcoholic smell to it. And if you don't overdo it, it doesn't have enough of a kick to have alcohol on your breath and have you turned upside down. So, I mean, what you drinking? Coffee. It looks like coffee. It smells like Folgers crystals. It's got that French vanilla smell to it. But there's alcohol at the bottom of the glass. Oh, and while we're talking about that, my guy, I can give you another pointer, because if you hard up and you're at job, you've got a coffee pot at your job, you've got a gas station down the street from your job. The gas station down the street from your job should have one of those 1-ounce bottles of Fireball. If you go get you a cup of coffee with a little bit of creamer, a little bit of coffee, a little bit of creamer, a little bit of sugar, throw that Fireball in there, stir that bad boy up. We call that jet fuel. It gets you up and gets you going, bro. I'm telling you. And we be on the job. I be having tall glasses like this with 2 Fireballs in that bad boy, tall cup of coffee on the job. And they'd be looking at me, they're like, is that jet fuel? And I'm like, yeah. And then the customers on the other side of the stuff, jet fuel. They already know what we talking about. I mean, it's a hood way to get yourself ready first thing in the morning. People with class will get them some orange juice and mix it with some champagne and mimosa. We grab a tall cup of black coffee and put a couple shots of Fireball in it and call it jet fuel. Either way, you still awake. Caffeine's a blocker. Orange juice has vitamin C in it, so there is a little bit of a difference between the two. But he said, "I'll chat with you later." On my way to get. He gonna try that. Hey, we still gonna be here. The liquor store like 5 minutes down the street from your house, so it's not like you're gonna be gone that long. 5 minutes, maybe 10, because you're gonna be like, hey, you're gonna go to the store and get you a couple Fireballs, right? Then you're gonna tiptoe on over there to the Wawa's and go get you a cup of coffee, because that's like the only place this time of night that's gonna have coffee that's already made and still be hot. You're gonna grab a couple of the Irish cream, little free creamer packets, throw 2 or 3 of them in there, put you a couple of them little packs of the, use the brown sugar, the pure cane sugar, use that. That tastes so much better. So you use like 4 or 5 of them, and then 2 shots of Fireball, shake that bad boy up, good to go. Good to go. Telling you, that's the recipe right there. I'm gonna have to put that into a video. I'm gonna have to do. I'm gonna have to find me a clear glass this big, and I'm gonna have to be like cane sugar, cane sugar, cane sugar, Irish cream, coffee, Fireball, coffee, stir. Good. He's, you know how it is in the hood. There's like 5 liquor stores, and like within 2 block radius, you know it. You know it. You got, depending on what neighborhood you in, you got some liquor stores with a drive-through in it. You ain't even got to get out the car. You just pull up to the window, tell them what you want, and hand them your credit card. That's a dangerous neighborhood. The ones they okay with you staying in the car. They'll bring you your liquor. They'll mix your drinks. We used to have a place like Daiquiri Trace where you ordered your alcohol to go. They would put it into the cups like McDonald's, and you be straw in the cup and everything like that. Drive off with your alcohol in the cup. I'm telling you that these folks don't know, like, before the internet, we had a lot of ways to go out there and get it. He's like, I'm gonna get a Fireball t-shirt and put a this and that logo on that bad boy. You have you like a 12-ounce cup of coffee with Fireball over the top of it, and have it underneath it called jet fuel. The pilots are gonna love it. You can see that on the next American Airlines. You're gonna be wondering why I'm in first class, because I gave them a new recipe for some good ass coffee. Oh boy. But yeah, so I'm gonna be checking out the Fit Chef recipes later this afternoon. They said that there was supposed to be some white label food items that they were supposed to be sending to us, so I'm going to see what those are like. I'm going to end up taking screenshots and everything like that. Hood credit all day long, bro. You know the saying, hood rich is because you broke as fuck, but you got everything that you need because you're taken care of by the neighborhood that you take care of. This came from a generation where everybody put their neighbor first. So I got to make extra money to help my neighbor pay their light bill. I got to make extra money to help my neighbor pay for their diapers. I got to make extra money to help my neighbor put gas in their car. I got to take my neighbor somewhere so I can't give you a ride. I will come and get you when I finish with doing for my neighbor. Then, oh, don't worry about the person cutting my grass. That's my neighbor. Oh, don't worry about the strange person walking my dog. That's my neighbor. Oh, don't worry about the strange person washing my car. That's my neighbor. damn, you got the hookup because I took care of these folks when they did not have. Now notice that whole principle wasn't, oh, that's my female best friend. No, that was my neighbor. That could have been a man, a woman. That could have been an old dude, a young cat. That could have been a neighbor's kids that I was looking after. Oh, don't mind them children playing inside my house, and none of them look like me. That's the neighbor's kids. They coming over for lunchtime like they always do. Why? Because they take my mama to the grocery store, some stuff like that. That would be the neighborhood dynamic. If you look out for me, I'm gonna look out for you. Now, we don't in 2025 carry that. That is pre-pandemic behavior, and we do not carry that in the post-pandemic environment. Take care of your neighbor. But that's all through 1 through 31 of Corinthians in the King James Bible, the Rick James Bible, the the Quran. You know what I mean? It's all over the place. Take care of your neighbors as you want your neighbors to take care of you. That's what we're supposed to be doing. But for some reason, we got people with their hand out with expectations, and the most that they're going to put out is sex. And then you got other people that are offering their services for clout so that they can brag about what they do for folks. And then you got other people that is offering a trade. I will help you out for the exchange of sex, which further emphasizes the first dynamic, which I think is corrupt in both scenarios. But the fact is that hood credit, it go a long way. I hold me down on faith. Word is bond. A man is only as good as his word is the generic startup of credit. That was trade credit back in the day when the country was first being established. They had the calendar was created off of that. The calendar was created off of so-and-so left. How long ago did he leave? And when he came back, did he bring back what he said he was going to come back with? That's what credit stood for. You give me something, I'm going to take it. I'm going to trade it with somebody. And when I come back, I'm going to bring you back what you're looking for in a timely fashion. That was credit. I'm going to front you something and you bring me something back on the back end, preferably with interest. That was credit. We're not like that no more. We're in a society where, you gotta take care of me right now. I don't trust you to look out for me. And then on the back end of that, we expect people to do us a favor on faith when we don't have faith in our fellow brother. I don't want to be fucked over, but it's okay if I fuck over you. And that double standard dynamic is not good in our society. So I'm glad you said that. That took us into a whole nother scenario. But like later today, we're going to be looking into Fit Chef. And after we finish looking at Fit Chef, I'm going to be trying again to see about getting my hands on the Canto, the Vino Canto wine. And again, I'm going to be looking into Dina to see if she's going to send us the complimentary bottle, because we're supposed to get the complimentary bottle regardless of how many other bottles that we purchase after that. And because Fit Chef had no problem with giving us a lifetime membership to and no additional cost to the product line so that I could bring it to y'all. So I don't understand why I'm like, hey, I'm going to couple these guys with these guys and then the other guys didn't show up. So I don't know. But either way, we're gonna piece it together. So give me a week or two to get those videos up and going. And as I get them, I might actually bring them up and sit them on the sideline on the show and use them for commercials during our 2-hour show. Use it for a 1 or 2 minute commercial for the 2-hour show. But I know that I am going to have them readily available on the main channel though. So for you guys that are not watching us on YouTube, you can go see them on the channel. I will upload them to Twitter on the back end, because I got some links to the product. So I want you guys to take a look at that as well. So we're going to be doing that. And beyond that, yeah, that's where we are with those. So I wanted to give you an update because I did tell you guys about getting the This and That apron and coupling that with, so instead of the Disney mug, the company logo on the cup, stuff to that effect, because that's all branding, which ends up being tax write-offs. But back to it. We've seen some recent cultural shifts that have placed greater scrutiny on relationships with significant age gaps, particularly those involving older men and younger women due to concerns about consent and exploitation. So some women who have had negative experiences with older men may project those fears onto others, assuming predatory intent, even when both parties are consenting adults. Now, I wanted to talk about that part when we were talking about the double standard, because when me and Rev was talking about this a few days ago, when Sunday we was talking about this, when the kid he was talking to this chick on the date nap, they communication phased out. She didn't talk to him for a while. Then earlier that day, she starts talking to him like crazy. Then all of a sudden she hits him with, "Hey, can me and my friend stay tonight?" And I was like, "Hell no, you can't." And Rev was like, "But it's two chicks." And I'm like, "Yeah, that's the dynamic that most men would have when they're thinking about getting laid." They're like, "Okay, you are making a bad call, boy, because if the one chick is fine and the other chick might be finer, you got two hot chicks staying a night by your house. The potential for something to happen with at least one of those chicks is higher than if neither one of them come over. The potential for you to have to sleep with both of the women at the same time is like every man's fantasy kind of thing, short to sleeping with twin sisters." But the fact is, in today's society, this stigma with women being taken advantage of, even when women deliberately put themselves in positions to exchange consensually with another individual, these women still can regret their decision. And then those women that make that regretful decision turn into an unnecessary complaint are the ones that makes it harder for both the women who are genuinely put in a compromising position without their knowledge or consent, and the men who had no intent of doing anything negative. That dynamic is a terrible dynamic for both sides of the fence, because those women that put themselves in a compromising position on purpose, and then because they had an experience that they wasn't in favor of, even though they wanted that experience, they just didn't like the way it turned out, then they turn that into an unnecessary complaint. That takes away all the fire from every female that has been taken without consent, that has been abducted, that has been turned inside out without their knowledge or consent, that woke up in the wrong place without their clothes, and all this other situations that happen, that genuinely happens to women by dirtbags that should not be in society. But then that stigma then gets bled onto good men that are ideally afraid to engage women already because of that stigma and the rejection factor. And then when they do open themselves up to a female, they end up with that toxic one that's just complaining out of spite. And now that guy has charges on his head. He's got a bad reputation floating around, and now women are going to look at him sideways. And we also have this stigma as men, we can't go into society without being looked at like a creep. Think about this real quick, fellas. A single woman can go to a public park full of children playing, hang out, drink coffee, read the newspaper, just chill, and then get up and go. A single man cannot go into that same park and sit there and read the newspaper and drink a cup of coffee. It's a public park. First of all, the person that's going to go and get that man immediately is the Karen, usually a female that's pissed off that the dude is sitting at the bench facing the children, not talking to the kids, not engaging the kids, nothing, just sitting there in a public park, drinking coffee, reading the newspaper, chilling. That person then is going to call the police and have the police come over, where because the police got called on him, the police is going to come and harass the man who was minding his business sitting at a public park. And because the complaint came from somebody else, law enforcement usually acts in favor of the caller, outside of when they shot that woman in her house when she was calling for help. They killed her because she needed help. But beyond that, more often than not, if they're not here to take out both parties, they're going to protect the person that called. So if they called on you, they're going to make you leave because you're a man, not because you're playing with the children and none of the children are yours, not because they're you have been like binocular style on the kids or anything like that, but just because you're there. There are a lot of locations in society where men are not allowed to go socially because they will be scrutinized if they go. especially if a woman isn't accompanying them. So more often than not, society will find good men staying at home because it's safer that way. Now, a lot of women will say that that's not true, that it's more dangerous out there for women than men. It is equally dangerous for women as it is for men, but it is only more dangerous for women who don't listen and follow instructions from the men that are trying to protect them from the men that will do stuff that the women don't want done. And if those women would listen and follow instructions, it would not be more dangerous for women than it would be for men, because the men will lay their lives down for women, but women will not lay their lives down for men. So in this situation, when we start talking about that hood credit, I just want to tap dance around the fact that the dynamic is not the same. Now, interestingly enough, while men dating younger women are often shamed, women dating older men are less likely to face criticism and may even be praised for trading up. Yet they feel like they're equal when they trade up, and they come from this dynamic that they must trade up in order to be on their level instead of getting somebody that is actually on their level. Conversely, when women date much younger men, the cougar phenomenon comes out, where they often face their own set of stereotypes, but the social backlash is typically less severe or is framed as empowering. A lot of the times when women do negative things, the other women are going to empower that and support that. But then when women are doing something positive, the women don't always come together and a herd and support positive behavior. And I've never figured out why that is. I don't understand why society is quick to support negative behavior and quick to turn the spotlight away from positive behavior. And that's why I've been telling men lately, hey guys, first, we got to start behaving more positive. And then second, we got to only acknowledge the positive behavior. When women do not behave in a positive fashion to the expectations of a higher value man, if we ignore them, we don't shame them, we don't treat them bad, we ignore the negative behavior. So if she looks like a 304, don't even acknowledge her. Don't tell her she's cute. Don't tell her she's attractive. You could be imagining the different positions you're going to be doing with this girl later based on the outfit that she have, and not say anything. But let her be appropriate, respectable, modest. Then she can be flooded with all of the, you look good this time. Because since they feed off of validation, if you only validate the appropriate side of them, they will stop presenting you with the negative side of them. But negative attention is easier to get than positive attention. So people, men and women alike, will first do something negative. That's where the bad boy attitude comes from. First do something negative to get attention before they do something positive to get attention, because one person will compliment you one time when you do something good, but one person will tell 10 people when you fuck up, and 10 people will tell 10 people, because that's how gossip works. I might tell you, you might tell one other person when it's something positive. I might tell you and 10 other people when it's something negative, and because it was so juicy, you might tell the same story to 10 other people. And it's such a juicy story, they're going to tell. That's trending. Negativity trends a whole lot better than positivity. And that's why there's a lot of podcasts out there that typically base themselves off of exploiting the negativity. And there's a whole market for it. But this double standard is deeply tied to traditional gender roles. Social structures historically cast men as protectors and providers, making it more acceptable for women to seek older men, establishing partnerships. But for men, youth in female partners is often equated with attractiveness and fertility, while for women, a partner's age is linked to resources and stability. So those men that are still looking for a lineage, those men that are still looking to be fathers and having 5 or 7 more kids, 2 or 3 more kids, they're going to be less interested in dating women that are older. Now, foreigners, the women in China and Asia and everything like that, those women are making it more of a habit these days to preserve some of their eggs in their youth. And then when they're in their older ages, carry that child after the egg has been fertilized by the man's sperm. So they use technology to fertilize eggs artificially and then incubate them in the mother after 40, as opposed to trying to do it naturally after 40, which is less likely to be successful. So you got two positive sides to that, because you end up with, from a woman's perspective, you got two positive sides to that, because you have a more mature self. You've been through enough. You've done a lot. You should be in a stable situation. And now you can still give birth in your older years, where at 50, 60 years old, you're dealing with a 20-year-old. In a society where everybody's living to 80 years old, 85 years old, your kid is 35, 40 years old when you're 80 years old. But that has generational gaps, massive generational gaps. This is why Asia's having a population control right now, a population control problem. Here in America, we just have a lower birth rate, but it's not a population control problem as of yet. And since abortion is starting to become outlawed, we're going to have less of a population control problem as far as not having enough children being born, because with all of the children in orphanages and everything to that effect, more people will be able to adopt kids that are going to be put up for adoption, because there's going to be less women able to have abortions and more women that are pregnant that are going to be giving their kids up for adoption, which is going to be changing the dynamic there. Now, despite these stereotypes, public opinions are shifting, because a 2022 Ipsos poll found that 71% of Americans believe it's socially acceptable for a man to date someone 10 years younger, depending on the age range, because typically the average is right now, fellas, is 50% plus 7. So half your age plus 7 is the mathematical equation. So if you're 30, half of your age is 15 plus 7, not just 10 years younger than you, because at 30, you can date a 20-year-old. But at 25, you can't date a 15-year-old. But half of your age plus 7 typically puts them above the age of 18. So if you're 30 and half your age is 15, and you add 7 to that, that's going to be 22. If you're 25 and half of your age is 12 and a half plus 7, that's 17 and a half, which puts you at almost 18. I would round it up to 18. Now I need to say half of your age, half of your age plus 7 rounded up. As long as it's equal to or greater than 18. Now we're turning it into a polynomial function. Either way, statistically, for those of us that are in our middle ages, that is a more feasible number. So if you're 40, the woman's going to be about 27, 28. If you're 50, the woman's going to be about 28 to 30. If you're 60, the woman's going to be like 32, 35. And basically you're getting a woman that is mentality wise in the same area that you're in. Now, statistically, we've said back in the day that women mature faster than men, and that's just because they reach that point to get their shit together sooner than men do. Women start paying attention to their futures, at least they used to, 18 through 30, making sure their careers are on point, making sure that their houses are on point, their financial stability is on point, without a man being that fulfilling role in those criteria. Then they look for a partner that's more successful than they are. Men don't really focus on making themselves successful until they're in their 30s or 40s. And then they're trying to find a partner that will aid them in being successful in the future. Now, that is problematic, as I said before, because women that are in their 30s are looking for the finished product. Women that are 18 to 25 are willing to look for future potential, but we have the shaming of men looking at women who want that future potential. Now, granted, it is the men's faults for not being stable, but a lot of men who did not have the guidance before this and that existed, where we could tell you guys about ways to make yourself successful so that you don't have to make those irresponsible decisions. The fact is that the lack of knowledge led to the man making a lot of failures from 18 to 30, so that by the time he was 35, 40 years old, he's just starting to get his stuff together because he learned from his own mistakes instead of learning from the mistakes of others and receiving wise words from wise men who have already made those mistakes. We've also had a lot of people that's come onto the show and say a lot of the times that a man that is not married, or a man that is not a millionaire, or a man that is not a multi-million-dollar company industry leader cannot tell you how to be successful. That's wrong. And I've told people before, plenty of times before, that a person who has made mistakes can tell you what to do, what not to do to prevent you from making the same mistakes. An addict can tell you how important it is to not take that first step towards becoming an addict. A gambler can tell you how important it is to not take that first step towards becoming a gambler. You know, individuals who have been, you have people that's been in the adult industry that might tell you why it is not a good idea to get started doing that. You know, following my decisions is going to lead you down a road of toughness that I don't want you to go down. So I can tell you, don't go this route. I might have paved this route, but I don't like the results. So I will tell you, hey, take a different route than this one. It's almost like if you were driving down the street and you got some jackass in the middle of the street and they're flagging you down saying, go that way. Yeah, go that way. Because whatever's past this guy is going to suck. And if you was paying attention to it, then you would be able to redirect your ability to make different choices and improve your scenario where you would be a little bit more satisfied with it. Now, this dynamic where 60% are saying that it's the same for women dating younger men, that it is more socially acceptable. We have to remember that there is still 55% that believe it's more acceptable for a man to date a younger woman than it is for the reverse, showing lingering gender imbalances. Now, here's the hot take. A lot of men feel like they're constantly jumping through hoops to meet women's expectations, only to be told they're trying too hard or not authentic enough. It's a no-win situation, zero-sum game, right? Men are told to be vulnerable, but not too vulnerable, ambitious, but not too intimidating, confident, but never arrogant. Is it any wonder so many guys are confused? Let's get even more real. Women say they want authenticity, but how many are actually attracted to the nice guy? We were just talking about this last week. Especially the nice guy who wears his heart on his sleeve. So many people are saying that a person that actually does act on love at first sight is love bombing and gaslighting. You immediately take this person's behavior to be able to fall for you at first sight and dedicate himself to you from first sight, and you devalue and degrade that person's feelings and position. And you listen to Steve Harvey, and I don't know, I mean, Steve Harvey has a lot of good advice, but the dynamic that he can love you too fast is stupid. The fact is that you can't control when you fall for somebody or how hard you fall for them. But one thing is sure, is that the longer you're treated like shit by the other person, the quicker you're going to fall out of love for that person. And then if you fall out of love from that person because they're continuously rejecting your advances, then they'll be able to say, see, I told you so. You were love bombing me. You were gaslighting me. No, I was head over heels from you from day one, but you have pushed me away for 6 months. It is time to stop. But ladies, y'all have to understand that mentality, that fear from being mistreated by somebody else in the past, now you are negatively impacting your present relationships that could lead you to a positive future relationship by assuming that the current person is deliberately seeking to mistreat you when that current person could be genuinely from day one planning the rest of his life with you in it. And because you are self-sabotaging, you're not only going to self-sabotage your relationship by mistreating the man who's putting his heart on the sleeve and showing you from day one that you're the most important person in this world, you're also going to blame him for the failure of your relationship, because instead of you accepting that, you could accept it with caution, but accept it, appreciate it, show gratitude for it while it's here. Because if he's gaslighting you, it ain't gonna last. If he's love bombing you, it ain't gonna last. But don't devalue and degrade it, because what happens if it was genuine? Then what? People who have been traumatized cannot tell genuine engagements from narcissistic and toxic engagements. If you've ever been shot at, you can never look at a person with a gun and assume that he's not going to draw down on you. If you've ever gotten your ass whooped by a cop, you cannot tell me that every time the red and blue lights come on that you're not thinking he gonna beat my ass and I ain't did nothing. Y'all can relate to this, right? There's situational traumas where once it's happened to you negatively, you cannot say that future engagements are going to be positive until they are. But if you react negatively off of the trauma from the last engagement, you are setting up a negative experience before the experience goes south. You have to tell yourself to de-escalate your stupidity. You got to tell yourself to de-escalate your negativity. You have to tell yourself to de-escalate your toxicity before you can analyze the other person's behavior and determine they're being toxic. Because they might not be. They might genuinely want to be with you. If a man can look at you from across the room, across the street, down the road, turn the car around, come back, and say, I want her to be with me on my last breath, but you better be appreciative of that shit. So that means that you got to step up and say, okay, let me see what he's got to offer. And this is one of the reasons why me and a lot of other passport bros are over here preaching about women in the Philippines, because a woman will give you from the Philippines, she will give you 15 years to get your shit straight. A woman in China and Japan and Indonesia, they will give you 20 years. That's why you see them women on the dating site. I got you real quick, Bayside. You got those women on the dating sites. They 35, 40 years old. They've been married. They got one child with their baby, their husband, their ex-husband. That child might be 10. These women usually started having children after marriage, which means that her marriage is probably 1 to 2 years longer than the age of the child. So if she's 40, 41 right now, and the child is 8, she got married right around 30 to 32, had the kid. Now she's divorced. You can tell a woman's life over there in East Asia just based on whether or not she's divorced right now. But an American woman will have 5 kids, never been married, and got a body count longer than the mileage on the car. It's crazy. And the fact is that we have this dynamic. We're going to be talking about this tomorrow, about women who are deciding to postpone child care until their later years. We're going to be talking about how that's a problematic scenario to decide on. But the fact is that you can't put yourself in a position to be a good partner if you're traumatized by the last. But these women that are fresh out of they gave this man the best years of their life, literally the first from 20 to 30, from 30 to 40, the best years of their life, literally. They gave that to the husband. Now they're divorced, and they're going to try to settle down with whoever is left in a society that has determined that women over 25 are not valuable. They're going to go look for American men who don't care anymore and get picked up. And that's why you end up with the international dating. But men are picking up the women from the other countries. Make sure y'all like and subscribe as y'all dive in here. They're picking up women from other countries because a woman that they're looking for, even if she's got a kid, she's got one kid from the one man that she's been with her whole adult life. And after that, this kid will show you respect. This woman will show you respect. And you can do a rest of your life situation with her where you could not do a rest of your life situation with some of the women that we're meeting here in America. It's crazy. Basically, I said a lot of people mix up love and lust, which can be very problematic. And that's why I left that on the screen for a while. The thing is that This is the funniest part about the love bombing and gaslighting scenario. You can actually fall in love 150 times in your lifetime. You can only be in love with one person at a time. You can have love for multiple people. So you can have like a platonic affection for multiple people, but you can only have that in-depth romantic affection for one person at a time. So if you fall out of love with this person and fall into love with another person, you can still have love with the person that you're dating and be in love with another person. You can fall out of love with the person that's treating you bad, fall in love with the person that's not treating you bad, but still be with the person that's treating you bad. These are things that we can do. And yes, we can mix up love and lust. And that's one of the reasons why lust happens in the first 90 days. And that's why they have that honeymoon phase where you can lust and love for somebody at the same time. However, after that lust fades, you still have the love that's there. But if you're lusting for the person and you have love for the person and the person is treating you like garbage, when the sex stops, you no longer have the desire for lust because you're pissed off at the fact that your feelings for this person is being rejected while you're still sleeping with them, and you're no longer going to have the lust or the love. So by the time, the lust is going to be short-lived, but the emotional attraction would be there for a very long time. The attachment will be a very long time. And that emotional attachment will turn into a duty-bound behavior pattern for men. And that, in case you didn't know, that duty-bound behavior for men, where he will dedicate the rest of his life for you based on how he feels. Now, what women don't understand is that a woman's sex drive increases after menopause. A man's sex drive decreases in the same age range. So when men start crossing over, from 30 going on, men start they start gaining more estrogen and losing more testosterone. They got to start taking more supplements, changing their diets, doing different kinds of exercises, probably take that little blue pill to keep their functions functioning. The older a man gets, the more that man is going to be with you because of how he feels about you, because he ain't even got no more functions left after a certain age. Yeah, they can probably swing it for a few minutes here and there and probably die from a heart attack at the same time. But truth be told, you got to look at the fact that the men are little horny toads in their 20s, 18 to 25. They jumping on everything with a pulse. 25 to 30, not so much more. 30 to 40, they more focused on being responsible because the drive is not there anymore. You go from 2-3 times a day every day of the week to 2-3 times a week. You go from 2-3 times a week to 2-3 times a month. You go from 2-3 times a month to once a month, from once a month to once every 6 months to I can't remember the last time we done it. And the man don't even care because his drive depreciates over time. So what women have to understand is that while the lust might start the exposure to the man from the woman's physical attraction, from the time he lusts from her until the time that he's in love with her, that is her opportunity to give him a reason to love her. Because you don't have to be in love with the people that you sleep with. You can tell that from the OnlyFans girls. You could tell that from the escorts. You could tell that from the working girls on the strip. They ain't gotta love the man to sleep with the man. They can love what they get from the man because they sleeping with the man. But also at the same time, you could learn to love the man that you're consistently sleeping with. So at the end of the day, it is a choice as well as learned behavior that you could develop an emotional attachment to somebody, but you have to make sure that it's on the dynamic of a healthy relationship. You're not supposed to be dealing with this from toxicity. And that's some of the things that we don't consider. So when people mistaken lust for love bombing and gaslighting, that's not love bombing or gaslighting. Yeah, it's lust. But the thin line between lust and love is the connection that you keep after the sex is over, which is why they identify sex as making love. The lust turns into an emotional bond. The action of two bodies becoming one turns into a long-term emotional attachment. And a lot of men speed into that physical contact, hoping that that physical contact will stay in a long-lasting dedication between two parties. But if the woman is not emotionally attached to the man, the woman can detach from the man and go somewhere else, because women have an easier habit of having their bodies in one place and their heart in another. Nothing wrong with that, but the fact is that if she's not dedicated to you emotionally, it doesn't matter what she's doing physically. And if she's only here for the financial stability, it doesn't matter where her emotions are, and it doesn't matter what she's doing physically, because she's only here until the money is gone. And when the money is gone, so will she be. And that's something that you got to change. And that's one of the hardest things that women have to recognize here in 2025, is that when we are looking for the finished product, we have to now earn the right to get that finished product. So if you're 30, 35, 40 years old, you're what are you bringing to the table that's value to a man? Because if men are looking for reproduction and you're not doing that, you didn't even preserve any of your eggs to give it to a surrogate to let her reproduce give him a lineage even at 4. Because you got to understand that with technology, you don't have to be 25, 30 years old. You just have to have like 15, 20 eggs on the side that he could put with his sperm and create you guys some little offspring and get you a surrogate that's like species and popping those kids out. And then you can still aid him in the upbringing of his legacy, and that would actually increase the value of the Western women if women were self-sustainable from 18 to 40, and then after they got to 40, they were still able to take their younger decisions and exercise them in their 40s. They could still be the mother at 40 years old because they have eggs preserved somewhere. They could still fulfill that role. That would increase their value. But because here in America, everybody's getting an abortion, nobody cares about the next generation. In order for the man to find that legacy, it don't matter if a man that is 45 would date you at 45. You don't want to have children. He wants to have a legacy. Somebody's got to keep the line alive. So what do the men have to do? The men have to hop a plane and go to a country where the women still want to give birth. Because if that's not the case, the men are trying to run off to some of these orphanages and try to adopt a kid. And no matter what people tell you, it is hard for a single man to adopt a child, especially if it turns out to be a female child, because everybody scrutinizes men. If a man goes there with a woman on the side, if a man goes there with a female that's willing to vouch for him, or his 20-year-old daughter that's willing to vouch for him, or something like that, he might have a shot. But society is still stigmatic. There is some crucifying behavior here. So while women say that this is a man's world, it is not really a man's world. It was built by men. It's operated by men, but it is not a man's world, because while the men might be the authoritative decision maker in most areas of society's development, the men are not socially authority. Socially, the men submit to women 100% of the time, 85% of the time at the least. And what men are allowed to do because of past dynamics, that's all we're capable of doing now. And we have to hide away from anything that women shame, to one, not be included in that. Because the same way, if a man says that he slept with a chick, no matter how much she says that it didn't happen, everybody's going to think it did. If a woman says that a man is a pedo, even if he's not, nobody's going to believe him. This is the dynamic of our society. The act of defending your own innocence is socially accepted as guilt. No one's going to take your word for it, bro. If you don't got witnesses, if you don't got testimony, if you don't got a body cam, it ain't going to work out. It ain't going to work out. They're going to legit hold you to the magnitude of saying, hey, you are whatever they say you are. And the only thing that you can do these days, because now they're not just talking bad about you in your neighborhood, where you could just move to another neighborhood and get away from the drama. These days, they talking bad about you on social media. They put your picture up. You don't even know that they're doing it. They be talking trash about you. They be leaving comments in different places. And then you come to find out about it. You done heard about it from somebody somewhere where it then got back to you now. And now you have to try to figure out how to navigate around that. You be trying to figure out why people look at you funny when you walk down the street. You ain't even been doing nothing. But because somebody is saying something negative about you on social media, and then the person who's looking at you is watching that social media page, they looking at you funny, acting funny around you, treating you different, and you ain't did nothing to this person. Because now they have a preemptive disposition on how they're going to treat you based on what they heard about you, not what they know, what they heard about you. And that is your first impression. And how do you bounce back off of a first impression that you didn't know existed? You can't. You just got to let that ride. Now, we also have to understand that they do secretly crave the confidence and swagger of the so-called bad boy when the guys are out there trying to do their little swagger. And that's one of the reasons why these kids is trying to raise up all these girls and all this stuff instead of actually being genuine. But the funny thing is that when you see these Riz videos, a guy could literally walk up and make that move, and a lot of women wish that move would happen, so they actually fall right into it. And then when the guy just walks off, she actually turns around and chases him because she actually wanted that type of engagement. You see some of these guys that be doing these videos where they walk up to a woman and just start holding her hand out of nowhere, walking at her pace, holding her hand, locking knuckles and everything like that, and the woman will look at him funny, and then he'll let her hand go and then walk off, and she'll turn around and chase him because they want that type of treatment, even if it's from a stranger. But they also don't want that type of treatment because other women frown upon it. It's crazy. It's crazy because that's the chivalry that good men have, that rizzing tactic that women long for. Like for a man to actually like you and walk up and give you a kiss on a cheek and just walk off. Like men will be put into that quagmire scenario, but women would fall head over heels for that type of treatment. She was having a conversation with somebody, and then a guy that was interested in her was able to walk up and give her a kiss and walk off. That speaks volumes. That's the confidence that they're looking for. The Romeo and Juliet, the Moby Dick story, the 70 Leagues Under the Sea stories. You know what? But the mixed signals that we have to deal with, they're everywhere. And it's time that we spend time trying to talk about this and try to work through it. I'm trying to figure out what are we going to do to improve this particular type of dynamic. And what about the emotional intelligence? Sure, it's important. But let's not pretend that every woman is looking for a guy who wants to have deep, meaningful conversations about his feelings, because that's not true. A lot of the times we find that when a man opens up to a woman and starts talking about the things in his past or his present that he doesn't want even his best friend to know about, that a lot of times these men find themselves dealing with the woman. And this is incidental because not all women are like this, but because the man finds a woman that he opens up to and starts telling his deepest, darkest secrets to, now she knows which skeletons are in his closet that she can pull out and hang out for the neighbors to see. And that is going to be why men do not open up to women. Because if you tell her too much, she will destroy your operation. You can't tell her where the safe is at. You can't tell her how much money is in a safe. You can't tell her about your trust. You can't tell her how much money is in the trust. You can't tell her which country the trust is located in. Only thing you can tell her is that the joint bank account that you opened up with her, you wire transfer money to that account from your primary bank account. That's it. And if you're smart, like I told you, you should have 50 or 75 bank accounts. You should have 2 bank accounts in every state of the United States, which means that you should have like 100 or 104. And well, if you include Canada, because Canada's the 51st state, if you have 108 banks, you should be able to wire transfer your money from your one bank to your other bank, to her bank, to the joint bank account, so that she can do what she's got to do with the joint bank account. And you don't have to worry about her finding out about the money that's being wire transferred to you from Belize or Belarus, because Belarus is a tax-free state for the trust, or from England, or Syria, or if you've got money coming in from Romania. Special shout out to Romania. I mean, this is like, they wouldn't know, because a lot of women don't care where the money comes from as long as they can have it. Basically, I said, this may be a little sensitive. I like sensitive, but it's just for conversation in the Bay Area. Special shout out to Tampa Bay. Men trying to date is kind of difficult because there are a lot of bisexual short of a bisexual sort of thing going on. Oh, that's a generational thing, bro. See, now, ladies, this is just for conversation. I'm gonna put this up here. This is just for conversation. Let's start a fight. Let's start a fight. You're saying that it's hard for dudes to date because there's too many dudes dating dudes, or too many chicks dating chicks and dudes? Because in both scenarios, Bayside, Mr. Satellite still here. Bayside, Waza. So Bayside, you talking about there's too many dudes dating dudes, or there's too many chicks dating chicks and dating dudes? Because I can tell you right now that I am a firm believer of this. Nobody is born. He's dancing on top of it. Nobody is born anatomically incorrect. Okay. There is never a scenario where natural selection has individuals outside of the design of procreation. Typically, this occurs from past traumas that individuals refuse to acknowledge or accept. They've suppressed bad experiences from the past, and they justify it with society by claiming that they are just a certain way. A lot of times individuals have had overexposure to sexual encounters when they were too young, like that 15-year-old girl that got ran through by 25 of her classmates in the high school, or individuals that had unexpected sexual experiences from family members at a young age, whether it be a girl on girl, or guy on girl, or girl on guy, or guy on guy, or whatever the case may be. And while in the adult life, the adult can suppress those negative experiences because those experiences was not severe enough for police to get involved. The fact is that it did negatively impact that individual's development, and now those individuals are experiencing it every which way. And societal norms are dictating that type of behavior is acceptable. It's all over the TV. You got dudes with girlfriends and dudes with guys, and the 12 chapters of the closet, and all this other stuff that's going on. And that's the way that's promotable. I'm not objecting to their decision-making process, but I am going to say that it is a choice. It is not a birthright. It is not something that they're born to be in. Now, as far as from the man's perspective, two guys, let's look at the math first, and then you're going to understand my dynamic. He gave you a what's up back, Mr. Satellite. Let's get the math on this dynamic real quick. First off, the ratio of men and women is about 1-to-1 until you start getting into like 30, 40 years old. Then it's 2 women to 1 man. So from 18 to 25, 18 to 30, the ratio of men and women are about 1-to-1. Each time 2 guys get together, that frees up 2 extra women. Okay. Now, the balance comes back for each time 2 women that hate men come together with strap-ons. They bring the balance back to a 1-to-1. That's just how it is. So I actually would prefer if more guys were getting together because that increases the numbers for me. But dynamically speaking, though, when we start understanding the fidelity of things, women are not okay with two men making out with one another, but the entire society is okay with two women making out with one another. And if that is your girlfriend making out with another chick, it should still be constituted as cheating, because you couldn't make out with another female in front of her and that be okay. And it's going to be socially unacceptable for you to make out as a heterosexual man with another man, because that's going to challenge your masculinity, and it's still going to be considered cheating as a man. So that means that women shouldn't be allowed to freely get out there and just swing it around with every gender and talk about oh, it's okay because I'm a girl. No, it's not. If your boyfriend can't do that, if your husband can't do that, why are you doing it? The universal standard. But it is the ability to be free from responsibility, free from commitment, free from the pressures of long-term future relationships, allows people to maintain open relationships and swing it both ways, and whoever they can get involved with, they can get involved with. But another reason why these relationships are being created this way is because the desire to be in a partnership is so strong that if you can't find it from the opposite sex, you can probably find it from the same sex. And that's going to be another reason why, well, if the opposite sex rejects me often enough, maybe I can try to play for the same team and see if they and see what happens. Let's switch sides and see what happens. But funny thing is, though, a guy can change his profile and pick up hits from guys like that, but like the guys aren't getting that many hits from the girls. It's crazy. Basically, I said, now, if you met a girl who said that she used to go both ways, would you be comfortable with it, or would it be your issue for not being open to it? I don't care what you did in the past, but I am going to tell you that if you was a hoe in the past, nothing really has changed, except you don't have as much access to being a hoe. It's like saying, if you used to be a weed smoker for 40 years, just because you're not smoking today doesn't mean that you're not a weed smoker. It just means that you don't have accessibility to weed today. Whether you can't afford it, whether you're taking a vacation from it for a little while. What the fact is that if you used to it, that's one of the reasons why people cannot redeem themselves from past decisions, because who you once were is still in you. Whether or not you still behave that way today depends upon today's decisions. So could I say, oh, well, I'm not going to marry any women in 2025 because all of them are out there thotterific between 18 and 40. All of them are throwing it against the wall. All of them are twerking upside down. Majority of them are 5, 12, 25, 50, 100, 200, 2,000 body count before they're 25, 27, 29. Most of the women have at least one child by the age of 23, children by the age of 28. Am I going to say that I'm not going to mess with none of the women? No. If you've got a basket full of rotten apples, you're going to eat the least rotten apple. That's just what you got to deal with. You're not going to throw the whole basket away. That's all you got to eat. So would I turn her away if she told me that she used to swing both ways? No, but I'm more than positive that a woman from the Philippines and China or Japan or Indonesia would not say that. They more than likely would tell me that they've only had the one husband and maybe one other outside of that, and that's it. Which means that their body count might be 5 at 35, which is a different dynamic. They might have been spending so much time working, taking care of their family members, grandparents, parents, sisters and brothers, that they didn't have time to get out there and drop it like it's hot. In the Eastern countries, they're not spoiled by their country, their society. They're duty bound to help out. And since they're so duty bound to help out, they're not paying attention to getting their rocks off. Here in America, women are spoiled from birth. They're given favoritism from birth. They are pampered by society from birth just because they're women. And then they're overly pampered because they're attractive. And that builds a false sense of security, that builds a false sense of entitlement, which builds an ego that is unrealistically enforced on society. Then when they're an adult, they're going to make it seem like they're entitled to that, but they're not. Not if you're equal. Now, if we're going to come from an unequal perspective, you might be entitled to a lot of things just because you're attractive, but you also have to submit to a lot of things because you're not the responsible one. So we can't push equality when it's favorable to the person so that they can have equal authority, but then push the dynamic that because I'm a female, that they're not required to be responsible. We can't say, oh, well, the masculine man is supposed to do some things, but then the feminine woman is not supposed to do anything unless it pleases her. That's not uniformity. But that's the kind of the dynamic that we have. Bayside said some could be said if a girl met a guy and he said that he used to be gay, but now he's not. How do you go through with that? Bro, a guy, again, same dynamic. Good questions. Same dynamic. There isn't a used to be. We used to call that back in the day experimenting, but fact is that if you have some type of trigger in you that has you attracted to both sides of the fence, you were and still are attracted to both sides of the fence. You might actually have a scenario where you might have not have been attracted to both sides of the fence. You might have been traumatized by one side of the fence, went to the other side of the fence, and then found out it was no better and then came back. Like if you got dogged out by a female and then you decided to only date dudes after that, very rarely happens. Usually the boys are mistreated as boys and then they end up dating boys. And then when they realize that was a trauma and they come out of that trauma, then they stop dating boys and they actually end up being instinctively repulsed by it. And then they end up just attracted to the women. And that's like my first female a relationship, and then everything after that is nothing but women. That does happen. Not taking anything from the alphabet community, not taking anything from them. I'm just saying that it is instinctively a trauma-based development. It's not something you're not born that way. You claim that you're born that way because that's how you justify it, but you're not born that way. And then on top of that, you know, you have individuals, like I said before, that's traumatized, whether it's in their childhood or in their adulthood, they're traumatized by something and then they change because they're traumatized by something. A woman can have a bad relationship with a man and start dating women after that. But after she starts having quite a few bad relationships with women, she'll go back to dating men. Fact is that, and you got some women that try so hard to be a man. Then when they realize that dating women is hard and they realize that it's easier to be the woman in the relationship, they will change into dating men. We also understand they got some women that believe that men want women to behave like men. No, we don't. We're attracted to a little bit of a tomboyish behavior like Zoe, but like we still expect the feminine behavior as well. We still we do find a little bit of like down for the homies type of attitude, like Aaliyah used to be back in the day, but we still expect that femininity. We still expect the ladylike, the classiness. And when the classiness isn't there, where the overly masculine behavior is extremely unattractive. You know? But we do also have, if she's overly masculine, he's overly feminine, that still can formulate a good bond between the two parties, because at the end of the day, you know, you cannot have two overly masculine parties in the same relationship and coexist. It's not going to work. And you have two overly feminine parties in the same relationship. Nobody's the leader. Somebody has to step up and be the leader. You can't have two followers and no leader and expect to go somewhere. And you can't have two leaders going in two separate directions and expect for this to stay together. But if you have one leader and one follower in a relationship, and it can be an interchangeable position where sometimes he leads when his strengths are effective, and sometimes she leads when her strengths are effective, and then they would be able to have a successful relationship. That is a type of equality, but that's more uniformity. But that is a type of equality that women should be longing for, is that when her skill set is more advanced than his in this dynamic, she takes the lead because he doesn't know what to do. And when his skill set is more advanced than hers, then she follows his lead because she doesn't know what to do. So if a man asks a couple, would you take $100 or a Bitcoin? She says $100, he says a Bitcoin, and she says, well, if he says a Bitcoin, I'm going to go with a Bitcoin because I don't know what a Bitcoin is. If women did that, they would not have conflict in their relationship. But if she's going to argue the fact that a coin in her mind is less valuable than a dollar, so she'll take the $100 over a $100,000 Bitcoin because she doesn't know that the coin is worth $100,000, she is going to argue him down, which makes her less valuable of a woman because she's not willing to partner with her partner in a situation that he has more knowledge than her. Not saying that women should instinctively be submissive 100% of the time, but if you're going to get a man that knows more about life than you do, then why are you arguing with him about life decisions? Because he knows more about life than you do. If you're going to pick somebody that has more, knows more, does more, is capable of more, you should only say yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir, all the time. Yes, daddy, the rest of the time, because he knows what to do. Now, when he's not sure about what to do, he's kind of got an idea. He's going to weigh the odds. He might come and ask you of your opinion and say, hey, babe, this is what we got going on. I'm thinking about doing it this way. This is the consequences, but we could also do it this way. This is the consequences. What would you prefer? Because this will impact you too. If he's on the fence about a decision, that's when you step up and you make the overruling choice. Because at the end of the day, you are the dividing decision maker. So if he's 50-50 on something, you're the 50% plus one. But you should not be the combative decision like, oh, we're going to do what I say because I'm a woman. That's not how this works. You're supposed to be the one making the decision because you know more about it. You're investing more in it. You're going to be the fall person, meaning that if this situation goes south, you're going to take the hit. You know, you're going to be the recovery team. That's when you make the decision. You say, well, I don't care how this is going to go. We're going to drive this car with no insurance. And if it crashes, I'm going to pay to replace it and pay to replace the other guy's car. That's when we follow your lead. I'll take that charge. I'll take that ticket. I'll take that higher insurance rate. You know, when you start making bad decisions, you got to be able to say, look, we're going to do it my way because I'm going to compensate you if this goes south. But more often than not, a man gives instructions to a woman because if she follows his lead, he's going to pay for this. So if I tell you to drive it like it is and it fall apart, I'm going to buy you another one because I told you to do it. And that's where the phrase you got to pay the cost to be the boss comes from. This isn't saying, oh, well, women are supposed to be servants to men. I'm just saying that in order for you to find what you're looking for, you got to know when to step up and when to step down. That's on both sides of the fence. Bayside says, I guess that would be explaining men getting out of prison for 20 years, usually having had that experience with another man, then coming out and go after women who desire ex-cons. Well, you also have those men that have been in for 10, 20 years and have had relationships while they were locked up. And then when they come out, you come to find them easily able to be involved with same-sex relationships and still have the woman that he was dating while he was locked up. For the sake of a man's masculinity, they'll always say that they were not on the receiving end, but you got to understand that lust is still lust, whether it's lust for another inmate or lust from the guard. And whether you were on the receiving end as a non-consensual party or you were on the delivering end, you're still on the same team. And the downside to that is going to be that when you get out, you're going to deny everything that you experienced on the inside. You don't want to talk about it. But either you're going to find yourself in a situation where you're more uncomfortable with guys, or you're going to find yourself uncomfortable about the fact that you're more attracted to guys. because 20 years, it takes 66 days to develop a habit. If you've been involving yourselves intimately with men for 20 years, when you get out of prison, that's going to be a way of life for you. Now, take athletic behavior. Switch the dynamic from prison style to football, basketball, baseball. All these guys that are able to interact with one another, 55 men in a shower together. It's all good. Which, truthfully, the only reason why women are not in men's sports is because they can't share the same locker room. Because I'm not gonna lie, they got some female kickers, quarterbacks. They might not be able to take a hit, but I know these female, they can run in stilettos. So if you put them into some cleats, they will take off, bro. I'm trying to tell you, they got some athletic females out here now. And the only thing stopping them from being on a male team is that they'd have to share the locker room with the dudes. I mean, if we're talking about equality. And this is what could happen to her in the shower set aside, because assuming that everybody behaves appropriately and we're all teammates and all of this, just because she's got to have her own bathroom, it's not going to work out. It's not going to work out. And then the guys are going to feel like favoritism, because if there's only like one or two girls on the team and they've got their own locker room with their own shower, and we've got to wait to get in line to get a shower, it's like, why do they get special treatment? They're only on the team during the point after effect. It ain't about them being girls. It's about why they got more space than we do. Because we're all playing on the same team. We're all supposed to have the same quantity of access to the same quantity of space. Why the fuck they got more space than us? And they play less than we do. Uniformly speaking, this is what we're talking about. But yeah, so we because I come out of Tampa Bay, and I know myself that when I walk these streets, I know myself that it is tough to deal with a lot of the times where you see like a really attractive female, and then you come to find out that she's wifed up. And it's also equally uncomfortable to be sitting at the bar having a drink, and then come to find out that the guy that just offered you a drink is attracted to you. It's a societal development. I mean, it's only 15-20% of Americans, but 15 to 20% of Americans isolated in certain states and certain cities, it's like overwhelming. But in order for you to find a different dynamic, you have to go to a different environment. So what you have to do is, if you're in an environment where there's an overabundance of individuals that have no ability to pick sides and stay there, you got to go to a different environment where they're more conservative and they're willing to stick to one side. But even if they did stick to one side, here's an interesting dynamic, Bayside. You have to think about this. Even if they did stick to one side, what's the difference between a woman that goes both ways, a man that goes both ways, versus a woman that will sample every guy with a pulse? I mean, she could be completely heterosexual and just have 2,000 male partners. What's the difference between that and a female that's only had like 5 or 10 male partners and like 15 or 20 female partners? What's the difference? Once the total interaction starts hitting 35, it's inappropriate in every account from my perspective. But I mean, she's had less D since she's only had like 10 or 15 D and a bunch of females, as opposed to 2,000 D. And women say that men are insecure when they think about that, but each man that you encounter leaves their DNA inside of you. So the difference is that a woman that has had 2,000 male partners has had 2,000 different quantities of DNA embedded in them, versus a woman that's only had 5 or 10 male partners only has 5 or 10 different men's DNA embedded in them. And that's a big difference, because ironically, you know, this is something that we don't talk about a lot, is science. We've had some STEM topics, but your genetic DNA changes when you take in RNA and DNA strands from other entities. This is the reason why when people were eating the cows and eating the chickens that were filled with the hormones, that they were developing incorrectly, because too much hormones in the animals put too many hormones in the people. And that's when people started saying no GMOs. And then they went back to GMOs because everything's genetically modified, because if it is infused with something, that is a genetic modification. Plain and simple. But now they're not talking about no GMOs. We're talking about gluten-free. Back to the point, though. So sleeping with a guy for like 6 months, his DNA is inside of you. Not all of that DNA is gone after he's gone. A lot of that DNA festers in you. You're with another guy. You're with quite a few guys. Those guys, their DNA is still inside of you. Just because those guys are gone doesn't mean that their DNA is gone. Now you end up with a guy, you get pregnant. All of those past guys' DNA is still there. And this new guy's DNA is there. And that's when you start seeing DNA tests is like 98%. Because for some reason, some of the other DNA that was still there got incorporated with the chromosome that developed the fetus that is now primarily your child. The majority of the DNA is your child. But 98% means that 2% of it belongs to somebody else. 99% of it means 1% of it belongs to somebody else. When you can't get 100%, that's because there's a percentage of this child that is somebody else, and it's not her. Because you're doing a DNA test to compare the male to the child. So think about that real quick. Now, when we start talking about how the women don't like the fact that men care about their body count so much, we have to ask the women, well, ladies, you are upset about the man's body count a lot of the time. If you find out that he's had a very, very adventurous lifestyle, you treat him as if he's going to dog you out. Even if that was his younger days, even if he changed, like I told you, people's past. You don't redeem yourself from your past. That's why I tell y'all, be careful what y'all do on social media. But the fact is that he might have been a wild one when he was young. 2, 3, 5 women a week for the first 2 to 4 years of his youth, right? Then, Charlie Sheening it out. Then he decided that he was going to straighten up and settle down or whatever. Now he meets you. You find out that he's had more women than you have been alive. You're going to feel intimidated by that. Not because all of these women's DNA is inside of him, but because he has had that much more experience. Now, a lot of women believe that if they get more experience, that men don't like that. That's not true. That's not true. Because the more experience you get, the more you think you know what you're doing. And the more you think you know what you're doing, the more you don't want to be told what to do. And the more you don't want to be told what to do, the less cooperative you are. And the less cooperative you are, the less we like you. We like cooperative. So a 42-year-old woman that's cooperative is more attractive than a 25-year-old woman that's not cooperative. 35-year-old woman that's cooperative, that's willing to follow instructions and compromise, is more attractive than an 18-year-old woman that's not cooperative. But an 18 and 25-year-old woman that is cooperative and capable of bearing children is more attractive than a woman that's not cooperative at 35 and 40 and can't carry children. So you got to understand the dynamic, ladies. Men want cooperation before they want a legacy, but they want a legacy if it is at all possible. So when you start thinking about like men are dirty old men because we're looking for younger women, dynamically, we're looking for younger women because women are more cooperative because they don't know what they're doing and they're willing to learn it. You think you know. Wise man once told other men, The more you think you know, the less you know. Even I can tell you I don't know everything about everything. I know enough about the things that I do to get me by on a day-to-day basis. Jack of all trades, if you will, but a master of none, which means somebody else can come and know more about any one of the topics that I talk about. However, when I combine a lot of the topics that I talk about, not very many people who come and talk to me have done their research and have half the information that I have when they come to talk to me about the topics that I bring up. But somebody who was a physicist in this situation or done a STEM research on it or something like that could actually probably bring more knowledge and information to one of my topics than what I bring to the table. But more often than not, they would be on the same side of the room as I am, because when I talk about something from a logistical perspective, a rational perspective, I'm coming from a factual basis. So people who have the facts are going to be on the same side of the room as me. The people who don't have the facts are going to be on the opposing side, because they just don't agree. They don't like my delivery. They don't like how the knowledge makes them feel. But that doesn't mean that I'm wrong. It just means that they're not taking the facts well. They're not taking the truth well. And here on This and That, that's all we do is bring you guys facts and information. You take it, you learn from it, you improve it. If the shoe fits, wear it. I know you guys have told me plenty of times before that for some reason, I'm saying something right then and there where it hits you like, damn, that applies to me. And if it applies to you in a negative fashion, that means change it. Because you wasn't just sitting over here talking to me on the show by chance. You came here. I ended up on your For You page because you were scrolling through the algorithm looking for shit like this. And then you stayed. And then I said something and you like, this motherfucker. And I hit the nail on the head. I don't even know who you are, because you needed to hear this. Now I'm talking to y'all about this because when TikTok gets sold to the United States and that same algorithm puts me on your platform on TikTok, you're going to be sitting here looking like, how does this man keep showing up on my For You page? Because you need this information. Subconsciously, you're searching for stuff that's relative to this stuff, and this stuff pops up on your For You page, and that is why you're here. And then you're going to scroll through for like an hour. You're going to pop back up on this page because we're still on your For You page. We just at the beginning of your page since you just crossed over the end. And then when you get back to us a second time, you're like, damn, that man's still here talking 2 hours and 11 minutes. Yes. And I'm still saying stuff that matters to you. That's what it's about. So yeah, ladies, more often than not, we have to find ways to make a little bit of a change. But yeah, that's some good questions based on like, what do we do about this? What do we do about this change? What do we do about this dynamic? I mean, sometimes the actions can speak louder than words, and sometimes what some people find attractive isn't what's politically correct. But with that being said, we understand that women's preferences for older men are rooted in both evolutionary and societal factors, often associated with their maturity, the man's stability, and the man's experiences. And men are dating younger women. However, they are more frequently shamed for doing so. But it is about a power imbalance and societal narratives about predatory behaviors where the women are actually really more frustrated over the fact that they don't feel like they control the situation, and that's why they're complaining. And I find this interesting because I was watching a show on Netflix, and it was Pulse. I don't know if you guys seen it, but it just came out on Netflix. And this chick was dating the boss, and then she got overwhelmed by the relationship. He didn't do anything wrong to her, but he covered up a rumor, he covered up a crime with a rumor, or allowed other people to cover up a crime with a rumor. She heard the rumor. She took it the wrong way. The rumor was not about her, but she believed that he was a man whore. And then she filed a complaint with his boss in HR, got the man suspended, all this other stuff. And then it put him in a compromising position. Now, in order for her to save his job, she had to drop the complaint. In order for him to save her job, he had to give her incriminating evidence to get him fired so that she wouldn't lose her job. But the whole thing spiraled. They were in a relationship, living in the same house for a long period of time. And then when it came down for her to get a promotion, she flipped out and then filed a complaint with HR because the guy was in love with her, but she was in love with him. But instead of her facing her feelings, she made it seem like he did something inappropriate, because of the power dynamic, because his family was rich, he's got pull, he's a more authoritative figure, and she was uncomfortable about the lack of control she had over the dynamic and how it would make her look if she got promoted because she's screwing the boss. He would promote her because she's good at what she does, but the fact that social stigma behind her being in a relationship with the boss because he's getting promoted, and if she got promoted to his current position after he gets promoted out of that position into a higher position, she would still be dating the boss, but she would be the boss while dating the boss. And she felt uncomfortable about that. I'm sitting over here wondering, well, first, why did you let yourself get into that? Second, why does that even matter if you're both getting paid? Get married and be the two CEOs of the fucking company like Triple H and Shane McMahon. Do you think that or Stephanie McMahon? Do you think that when Triple H left China for Stephanie McMahon, that Stephanie McMahon said, I don't feel comfortable with this? That man went from being John Cena back in the 90s to being the boss of the company. But see, that only happened because she was the boss. And men don't care. If I'm the boss's husband, I'm still the boss. Women don't have that mentality. And chime in, ladies, and tell me that I'm wrong. Because the fact is that if my woman is the Fortune 500 company's leader, when I walk in, I'm being escorted in by security. I'm not acknowledging the secretary. Well, who are you? I'm your boss's husband. That's it. I'm not even giving you a name. Tell her I'm here. I know which room she's at. And I'm going straight to her room because I'm the boss's husband. Now, women don't feel secure about that. They don't feel secure enough to say, okay, I'm the boss's wife. That's a demasculating scenario for her to submit to say that I am his wife. If we still had some episodes from this time last year, Mr. Pibbs was on the show with us, and the girl that put him in the friend zone, she would watch the show and she would jump onto the show, and she did not have the security, the personal self-esteem to admit that she was a fan of what he was trying to do. So when I called her a fan, she would get offended and say, no, I'm just supporting. Did you watch the show every day? You're a fan. That's what fans do. They watch the show every day. They watch the show every week. You come to the show when he's on the show because you're a fan of his effort. You're a fan of his content. You're a fan of what he does. That makes you a fan. But because you being a fan puts him in the position of being a celebrity to you, that puts him in a higher level of authority than you on a social platform. And you do not want to admit that in some way, shape, or form that this man is better than you, or that you idolize or appreciate or value this man in any way. You don't want to acknowledge your appreciation or affections towards this man in a public atmosphere, which is why you're going to say, no, I'm just being supportive. My daddy would be my biggest fan on my channel if I gave him a link to the show. Probably watch the show every day. That does not devalue him as a person. So that would not devalue this chick as a person. Anybody who watches the show everybody who watches the show is going to be treated as an equal. So if I met you in public, I would treat you the same way I treat you on this podcast, like human beings. I'm not sitting out there signing. You ask me for an autograph, I give you one, but I'm shaking hands and giving hugs and passing on knowledge and tips and stuff to that effect. And we hanging out like we're people. But you also have to understand the difference between me talking to you versus you talking to me is that some people get starstruck and be like, oh, well, that's Xander from this and that podcast, 2 million followers, if that ever turned out. Versus me like, oh, well, this is another person that knows me from my channel. I actually would probably be more enthusiastic that you recognize me from my podcast than you being enthusiastic because you recognize me from my podcast. You're like, look, that's Xander. I'm like, look, they know me. I'll be out there worse than speed. Like, I got fans. But see, for a woman to admit that she is under the authority so many women are insecure about accepting that dynamic. That power dynamic is one of the reasons why older men are not allowed to date younger women, because older women are offended by the younger women dating the older men. And that is where the power dynamic is coming from, not because the older men are doing something to the younger women, because the older women are intimidated by the older man getting the younger woman. That is the dirt on the cake. Bayside said, isn't it funny how relationships are so similar yet so different? It's a delicate dance that can be beautiful, and that's what we aim for. It would be an awesome dance. It would be an awesome dance. He said, hey fellas, Xana's calling us for fanboys. I am not calling fanboys. I knew. No, I remember what's his name? Exhibit was doing that. No, I am not doing that. No. I heard the bouncers talk about that. No, I know what that's about. That's not, we're not going to use that title for y'all. We're gonna say the entrepreneurships. We're gonna say investor trainees. We're not gonna call y'all fanboys. That's not appropriate. Yeah, I'm not gonna call y'all fanboys. So I have to change my phrase when some dudes walk up, be like, "Oh yeah, these young men are trying to invest in some stuff. These are some young investors." That's how I'm gonna have to identify y'all as. I'm not gonna call y'all fanboys. That's not gonna do. That's no. That's one step away from some Diddy oil. Take that. No, we're not going down that road. Oh, that's hilarious. But we do understand that with this dynamic, it's a double standard dynamic from both sides. And while women have double standards, men have double standards too. And we understand this. This creates the persistent double standard that is for reflecting deep-seated gender roles and cultural anxieties about age, power, and relationships. So here's a question, and there's a challenge for you guys. Are we ready to admit that both men and women are playing games around this bitch? That both sides have unrealistic expectations, and that maybe, just maybe, we're all a little guilty of not being totally honest about what we want about this motherfucker. I just really want to get that conversation started real quick, because I kind of feel like, while we do want, and I always want the perspective of women when we're having these kinds of conversations. And the women, sometimes they'll come through the conversation, they'll see us, and then they'll kind of try to like walk away from the channel. Some of them might even hear what we have to say and give us a thumbs down and crip walk up out of here. But it doesn't really, it helps the algorithm really, because that means that we're controversial if so many people are watching it and people are thumbs down in it. I prefer a thumbs up. That's like an ego thing, but hey, you thumbs down and at least you reacted to the channel. So I'm okay with that. Negative attention gets you more views than positive attention. But the fact is, I'd be loving a woman's perspective to come on. I'd said before, I wanted to get Pearl. I didn't talk to Pearl yet. I got to go reach out to Pearl. I got to go find Pearl's platform and be like, hey, let me get on your, let me get you on my thing. Let me get you on my thing. I'm on my show, not my thing, on my show. Let me get you on my show. Because when I reached out to Jordan, I had told Jordan said, let me think about it. And then Jordan kind of like phased out. Now Jordan couldn't be assertive about the situation and say, well, I was interested in doing a short with you, but since you're doing a 1 hour podcast, I don't have time for that. Instead, he said, I'll think about it, and then never got back to me. And I'm like, I check my emails for this podcast every day. If a content creator ever slid into my email from this channel and said, hey, I want to swing by your show, or I want you to come to my show, and if their show is airing when my show is airing, I'd be like, hey man, let's swing. I'm gonna throw you a link and let's run this shit. Let's run it. I ain't got no problem with running that. Yo, after TikTok is bought out by the United States and TikTok is worth doing, I might actually have a more advanced platform where I can put your TikTok on my show with my YouTube and Twitter and Twitch, and we can go live as a group. We can piece all this shit together. I don't have a problem with that. We can all stream from the same stream key, get on here and make it do what it do. You know, I know a lot of y'all that don't have the courage to jump onto the show because we got this 9x16 scenario set up. But if I had it at a 16.9 scenario and you had like 2 or 3 people already up here, you might see 3 or 4 extra people with the courage to jump on. Like, man, I've been wanting to get in, but you know, I just don't know where I would fit. Well, you know, there is a button here that they just finished updating the platform with that prioritizes the person talking. So I believe that if there's more than one of us here, it'll flip back and forth between who gets to talk. And it still will have like you there, then me there, and then it keep flipping back and forth. But I would have to test that situation out one day by going live with extra people or extra accounts. We're going to figure that part out. He said, well, it looks like Elon Musk is making full-size robots pretty soon. You won't need a real person. Pretty soon? Fuck you mean? Man, hold on. He said Blade Runner type of stuff. Are you talking about the debut of the robots in New York that was making drinks and jumping? He had a full auto electric SUV show up, no driver in it. And I think like 5 or 7 life-size robots, that's about 5'6", 5'7" tall, got out of the car and started shaking hands and having conversations with folks. And some of them were bartenders and this, that, and the third, and following instructions from human beings. And they debuted that, 6 months ago, 6 months ago, not 9 months ago, 6 months ago, I think. And he was one of the first ones to launch. Now they have these other folks that had launched some like robots that just follow instructions, but they're not really communicative. But Elon made some that actually have a conversation with you. Now, this other company is selling for $150,000 a robot. You can make the robot look like whoever you want it to look like. That you just got to pay the cost of having check. So your ex-girlfriend that did you dirty, you can make a robot that looks exactly like her, and then that robot will behave the way she wouldn't behave. What? And I was like, man, that's cheaper than an American woman, because at the end of the day, 10 years with this robot at $150,000 is $10,000 a year. That's like $800 a month, which is $300 a month more than a woman from the Philippines. What? That's going to make a lot of people who got money go and get them a robotic date. And as they perfect the technology, Sarah Jane Chronicles is going to be more and more of a thing. More and more of a thing. You talk about Blade Runner. Whoo! I seen Blade Runner. I seen Firefly. I know what you're talking about. It's gonna be, but the fact is, though, is that the people who are probably going to first buy these up is going to be men. Truth. And that's going to be because just like when men get dogs because dogs are loyal, women get dogs, but women get dogs because they don't have time for children. Men get dogs because men want companionship. Women want companionship too, but women want to nurture something. They get a pet. Men want something that's not going to cheat on them and run off and leave them with somebody else, and they get a dog. So women have cats, men have dogs. Women don't really care if the cat ignores them all the time, even though they want a man not to ignore them all the time. But that's why women have cats. Because when they don't feel like being bothered, the cat is self-sufficient. But when they want attention from the cat, they've got all these cats making all this damn noise at the dinner plate, which is a submissive situation. Actually, do you realize that cats are more in charge in your relationship with your pet? They come when they want your attention. They come when they want you to feed them. They come when they want you to do something for them. But when they don't feel like being bothered with you, they slap you in the face and go somewhere and hide. And if they have the ability to go outside, they just leave. Hold on now. Men can't do that. Men can't do none of that. Where you been? Don't hit me. Where you going? What you talking about? Everything that a cat can do to a woman, a man cannot do. So why do y'all have cats? I just want to understand that. Because when a man gets a dog, the dog is always up underfoot, always looking for a hug, always looking for affection, always wherever you are, looking forward to when you coming home, glad to see you here, wish that you would never leave. The stuff that we wish women would do. Now, answer that, ladies. Make that make sense. Just trying to figure it out. Just trying to piece it together. Uh, Base, I said, man, I love women. They're beautiful, sexy, funny, witty, smart, and a blast to be around. They make everything better. Now, how would you feel, Bayside, if a robot did exactly all of that? And the robot is cheaper. Wait. Another question. Real quick though, if the robot had maintenance included in the price, you don't even got to pay for the medical bill. The robot, like it gets serviced when it's sick, when it ain't working right. If it defects, you get to replace it with another one. It's all the things you described, and it does everything that you need. I'd buy 3. That way you can rotate them out. But guess what? That dynamic is how the men treat women in Dubai. So I'm trying to figure out why the American women are allowing technology to replace them. Women don't want to hear that shit. But when you think about the dishwasher washes dishes by itself, the dryer, washer and dryer works by themselves. You got vacuum cleaners that clean themselves. You have companies that pre-cook food, freeze it, put it in the freezer so that the man can put it in the microwave himself because she won't do it. You got cars that drive themselves, park themselves. You've got car washers that wash the car themselves. You got lawnmowers that operate on their own now. You've got I can't find. You've got fintech that balances the budget. You've got get them with the warranty. You got fintech that balances your budget. You got auto bill pay. You got every helper scenario that used to be a task for a woman. Men have created technology to replace those duties because women don't want to do them, not because they weren't great at it when they did do it, because they don't want to do it. With the advancements of technology, similar question, different dynamic. With the advancements of technology, what is a woman bringing to the table that machines have not replaced that are valuable to a man besides sex? Again, we're at a loss. Because when you say emotional support, we've got dogs for that. So beyond that, what else is there? In a capitalist dynamic, the only value that a woman can bring to the table is her ability to cooperate with the man's ability to increase the estate, which means that she would have to be either financially savvy, which means that her intelligence cannot just be in books with a degree in some bullshit somewhere else. Her intelligence needs to be in stocks, bonds, real estate, something technology based, so that she can know how to make things work and function and evolve into a better atmosphere so that the society of the family is more functional. And since she's going to be career driven and she believes that her career is more valuable to her, her career driven would require her to put 90% of her income invested into the relationship, so that when he invests 90% of the income into the relationship evolves in a more fiscally responsible relationship. Human parts, exactly. To cybernetics, Neuralink. Which also means that the dynamic shifts incredibly, because still women are able to be self-sufficient. Women are able to be college driven, hardworking, middle management women, Fortune 500 CEO women, but they would have to change their mentality to a business mentality to say, I'm not getting a man that is better than me. I am investing in a man that has the same ambitions I do, drive that I do, and skill set that I do to make us a millionaire, which means you're not going to find a man that's already financially successful because you owe him his estate. You would have to find a man that is not yet successful with the potential to be successful. And if you partner with him, you both will be successful together. So now you are entitled to his estate because you made it successful. The same way Dr. Dre was entitled to half of Death Row Records because he made it before he went and created Aftermath. He left everything on the table, but if he wanted half, he could have got half because he made it what it was. If women were the same way, where if you wanted half of this, you got half of it because you made it what it is, then women would be entitled to 50% after the divorce. Base, I said, hey, Xander, it ain't more women graduating from college than men and having higher paying jobs than ever before. So they're doing good, but they still need a man. They don't want a man, but they swear to God they don't need a man because single women that aren't girlfriend worthy, that aren't wife worthy, that can't keep a man, tell other women that are in a relationship, leave their man and go back to being single. And then when those women become 35, 40 years old, they're no longer attracted by men. Then they become bitter single women. And now there's a group of bitter single women like the Golden Girls where they're all wishing that they had a man, but nobody's got a man, but they still need a man. But for what though? What does a woman need a man for? Because a man is supposed to put his life on the line for a woman to protect her. If a woman's going to protect herself, she got her own Glock switch. She don't want to follow instructions, so she's not going to be protected by the Secret Service because she won't listen to the Secret Service. So she ends up in the back of a van with no windows on it. That's on her because she won't follow instructions. Now I'm supposed to find her because I'm her boyfriend. I'm supposed to go save her after I told her don't go out there. But they don't need a man, right? Then hold on, we got this other dynamic. Okay, they make their own money. Some more women these days are making more money than men these days. But they want to find a man that makes more money than them, which is a problem because if she's 50, 60, 70,000 a year, there's only like 34% of men that makes more money than her. Okay. So if she's more fiscally responsible, she not going to find a man that makes more money than her. They do need a man to lift heavy things, to move furniture around in the house. They could use body parts for pleasure, but the women don't follow instructions. So how could a woman say that a man that she would want a man there to tell her children what to do when she won't do what he says do? If those aren't his kids, she's not going to want him to tell her kids what to do. We had this conversation before. You asked me if I was dating a woman with a child, would I be okay with that? And you and I or one of us, if it wasn't you, it was either Usman or Rev. One of y'all was telling me that you would have to get that agreement from the mom that the child would be subordinate to the authority of you. And I was saying that shit, the mama's got to be subordinate to me, and the child will be subordinate by default because I'm not supporting anybody that's not going to follow my instructions. If I tell you what to do and you don't do it, I don't want to have nothing to do with you. I will cut you loose. I asked for my girlfriend and my wife's opinion, but at the same time, I'm not trying to throw my money at somebody. But when we start talking about what if all the things that make a man valuable, a woman does for herself to consider herself valuable, what does she want from the man besides money? because she can go and get a sperm donor. Men sell their sperm, give their sperm away. She can go find a sperm donor and buy that. So she doesn't. So outside of pleasure and profit, what else does she need a man for? Since she has replaced a man with her own skill set. So Western women have become masculine men. Masculine men are looking for feminine women. Western women are masculine men. Eastern women are still feminine. The masculine men are going to find the feminine women in Eastern countries because the masculine women in America don't know how to be feminine. Now that's a mic drop moment right there. Bayside said, plus that little clock is ticking and the eggs aren't as fresh as they used to be, like you said earlier. First of all, they was rotten at 25 or 30, 25, 26, 27. By 30, 35, 40, almost nothing left. So, if they're really trying to have that family life, they're supposed to be trying to find that right person. But if you're 18 to 25 and you're trying to find that right person, the person that's financially responsible enough and financially stable enough to be that person that you're looking for, that person, you're at 18, is going to be 42. You're 18 to 20, 25, going to be finding a person that's between 35 and 42, which is 50% plus 7. So a woman that's 27, a woman that's 25 should be looking at somebody that's 38. A woman that's 22 should be looking at somebody that's like 35, 32, 34. But they should be in their younger years, instead of playing the field, they should be immediately looking for the husband material while working on their career. Basically, I said, as a father, when I'm walking my daughter to school or shopping for food or shopping for clothes, whatever, women look at me and smile, and I know what it's about. You taking your little girl somewhere, all the women is gonna blush because them bitches wish that was their child and they were standing there with you. They still have that what is it called? Not primal instinct. They want that family atmosphere, but they have been conditioned by the feminist social structure to reject that primal atmosphere. Women want a man that will go out there and protect their daughters and teach their daughters how to respect themselves and be respected by men. But women don't want to be subordinate to that man. Women want a man to be masculine and assertive, but the women don't want to obey that man. And that's a double standard that causes problems in relationships, because women cannot find the man that they're looking for because they're saying what they want, which is $100,000 a year man at 6'5", but they're thinking what they need is a 5'6", $55,000 a year man that will take care of the children and prioritize the wife over himself, so that when she comes back with her $55,000 or $60,000 worth of success, she can take care of her man because her man took care of everybody else. That's what she's thinking, but that's not what she's saying. What she's saying is that she wants to quit her job and live on his wealth without helping him at all. But what she's thinking is, I wish that I had somebody that could take half of the stress off of my plate and we work together and build an empire. They're thinking it, but they're not saying it. Now, then when we call them out on it, they're embarrassed by it. They're insulted by it. And then they bash me for it. And I'm okay about it because I know the truth. Men are not afraid to say that they would prefer to be in a companionship, but they need the cooperation. women are not confident enough and mature enough to say that they want to be in that same companionship. They just don't want to be mistreated in that companionship. But if she found a man, and instead of focusing on how much money he wastes on her, she focuses on the type of decisions that he makes, and he makes the type of decisions that she would not disagree with. The stress on her plate that is gone now is she found a decision maker. Now she could turn her brain off on the hard stuff and focus on something else. What women don't understand is that when they find a man that can make decisions for them, that woman just got promoted, because instead of her being the first person to deal with the bullshit, she is the person that the man has to go to when he can't handle the bullshit. Don't make me go get my wife. Men can't say that these days because these women did already abandon the man before the situation got thick. If I can't work this out with you, I'm gonna have to have you talk to my wife about it, because I don't want to argue with you. The wife is supposed to be the supervisor. The wife is supposed to be upper management. Ladies, y'all got to understand that if you are the boss of your business and you elect this man to run your business, he represents you. So in order for him to answer to you, you got to shut up and let him do what he need to do, so that then when the shit don't go right, you can step up and be the higher authority that trumps the person who trumps your man. But if you are going to sit there and just bully a man into submission, you cannot have a dog fight in a fight if you fight the dog every time the dog stands up to fight. Dog ain't going to want to fight for you. But if you let that motherfucker go like Mr. Burns would release the hounds, and don't stop them from getting out there and regulating, every time you need that dog to get out there and go fight, that dog gonna get out there and go fight for you. Because that dog will know it's time to fight. And after he finished fighting, you compliment, appreciate, validate, and reward the fighter. And that's going to encourage him to get back out there and fight again. But if every time he goes to fight for you, you demasculate him, you shame him, you embarrass him, you make him regret the fact that he's trying to fight for you. When it's time for him to fight for you, he's not going to want to do it. Then you're going to be pissed off at the fact that he didn't protect you. But you made him not want to protect you. And now you're shaming him because you made him this way. If you let him do what he's supposed to do, and then after the deal is done, appropriately coach the situation. You came off a little bit strong in that last conversation. You kind of escalated that a little bit too quickly. Let's baby steps. But sweetheart, in a relationship, y'all supposed to be good cop, bad cop, and he's supposed to be the bad cop. But if y'all are going to be good cop, bad cop, and you're going to be the good cop, the bad cop starts shit and the good cop negotiates the shit. Right? You see it in every negotiation. The bad cop is slamming him on the wall, yelling, fussing, threatening to beat his ass. And then the good cop sits down and talks and says, hey, look, let's work this out. Because if not, I'm going to let him come back in here and do what he was about to do. And that is how y'all work together as a team. Instead of bullying your man and taking away all of his stars and stripes and saying, he ain't important. You listen to me. He not important. Instead of doing that, you say, hey, negotiate with me, or I'm going to let him whoop your ass. That's how you handle stuff. So you don't stop him from being the man that he's supposed to be, but you come through and you say, on top of that, I will work this out with you. That's how y'all can team this up. Likewise, if your man ain't paying attention to some of the cues that's going on in the room, like I told y'all before, ladies, if y'all not talking, y'all can listen. Y'all hear stuff going wrong. Y'all hear things going sideways. This deal might not be in his favor. You might hear somebody keying about how they about to fuck your man over. Instead of you talking so much, you could go over there and whisper in his ear, come on, let's go. That's it. You don't have to explain why. If you have the confidence in your man to do what he say do when he say do it, when you walk up to your man while he's in the middle of a negotiation and you whisper in his ear, come on, let's go. He should mutual respect Say, hey, I'm sorry, guys, something came up. I'm gonna have to run, but I'm gonna catch up with y'all later. But I have your people send my people your number, and we'll set up an appointment. We'll get to this later, and then he will leave. Then when he gets into the car, because he's not gonna insult you in front of everybody else, but why we gotta go right now? Because that's a man of low value. If you walk up to your man and you whisper in your man's ear and you say, "Come on, let's go," he should be able to end all conversations and say, "Well, it's time for us to go. I gotta go. I got stuff to do." And then when he gets into the car, he's gonna ask you, "Why the hell did you make us leave? I almost closed the deal." And then you can explain to him how you heard this and seen that and this, that, and the third. And that's how you guys are able to protect each other. It's not just about you listening to your man. If you respect him enough to follow his instructions and he respects you on an equal or uniform basis, when you see some shit about to hit the fan, you should be able to warn him. And by you telling him, normally you don't tell him nothing. See, that's what women who have the most control out of a relationship call the most shots, because they don't say nothing. When everything is going well, they don't say nothing. They don't tell the man nothing. But when she starts speaking, he listens, because she don't never tell him nothing. She don't argue with him. She don't disagree with him. She don't talk back to him. So when she walks up to him and tells him in his ear in the lowest tone possible, "It's time to stop. Let's go." That's almost like Skeletor jumping up and dropping his staff down and zapping everybody. That's almost like when Suge Knight got out the car and recognized that the dude was in his parking space. Like, we already know this isn't going to end well, so I'm just going to go, because otherwise this is going to end badly. They tell y'all, and I got Bayside's comment right after this. They tell y'all that the most dangerous person in the room is not the loudest person in the room. It's the quietest person in the room. The one that spent the whole day looking at all the exits, looking at all the witnesses, looking at all the ways so they can fuck your ass up before they take action. They ain't said nothing. Those are the ones that you were supposed to be afraid of. So the women would be more intimidating and in more control if they didn't say shit. In a mob boss movie, the most dangerous man in the room has not said one word. His right-hand man is doing all the talking for him. He's just sitting there. If he says something, it is going to lead to you getting your ass whooped. The whole room is going to jump you, because this one person sitting in the biggest chair at the back of the room turned his chair around and probably just pointed at you, didn't even say a word. And now the rest of the room is beating your ass. That is control. Screaming at the top of your voice, "What, you can't tell me what to do?" Da, 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 da. Ladies, that ain't control. That's just disrespect. But being able to go over there and go tell him, it's time to go. Nah, let me tell you something. First date, second date, third date, fifth date. You want to see how much control you got in your relationship? I'm gonna tell both of y'all, men and women alike, go take your partner out on a date. Take your partner out on a date. Social experiment. If they have not watched this podcast, you can tell what kind of relationship you're in. If they have, I hope they follow this instructions. In the middle of your activity, probably close to the best part of your activity, lean over to your partner and tell your partner, "Come on, let's go." Straight up. Don't explain why. Just say, "Come on, let's go." If they ask you why, they ain't got no respect for your authority. Period. Because first of all, if they got to ask you why before they get their ass up, they ain't got no respect for your authority. Because if they respected your authority, you seen something, you heard something, "Come on, let's go." They should be able to get their ass up and walk out without question. And I said both. So it ain't just, "Hey, fellas, go talk to your woman." Hey, ladies, go talk to your man. Try that shit. Nah, don't start nothing behind it, but just recognize if your partner try that shit with you, you show them how much you respect them. The motherfuckers take you somewhere, you go somewhere with them. I don't want to be here anymore. Let's go. All right. Now, ladies, I'm going to be honest with you. If you tell a man that you don't want to be here no more, that's a wrap. He's ready to go because you're ready to go. But if you tell him, come on, let's go. If you just, hey, let's leave. More often than not, ladies, that man don't need no excuse. Just because you don't want to be there, he don't want to be there because he only wants to be wherever you're happy. But ladies, y'all don't give a fuck if a man is happy. Y'all are going to find that if y'all don't have a logical explanation why you have to stop having fun, y'all don't give a fuck if he's not having fun. So if a man came up and told you, come on, let's go, like he took y'all bowling, y'all was having a good time, y'all like 5 frames into 10th frame, come on, let's go. You're going to be like, why are we leaving? What happened? But let me tell you something real quick before I get, because I got a couple of these comments that base I put in here. I want to jump on them. But just think about this, though. There's a time and a place for everything. I can't tell you that we're in danger while we're in danger. I can't tell you that the shit's about to hit the fan. I can't explain to you that this is not about to end well. The quicker we get the fuck out of here, the safer we will be. I can tell you after I get you to safety why we left. Y'all know that most black folks, if one person start running, everybody start running, and halfway down the road, somebody asks why we running. But not one time does a person take off running, stop, and explain to the other black person why the fuck we running. All they got to do is see one black person, 2 black people running in the same direction at top speed, and every other black person they ran past will run at top speed, not knowing what the hell is going on, because they have enough respect for the other people in their group that they know that them motherfuckers is running from danger. So we're going to run from danger too. If your man come and tell you, come on, let's go, girl, if you don't drop what you doing and get the fuck up and get out of there, he need to leave your ass there. Now, Bayside said a while back, he said, plus women get, as women get older, they get tired of being called a girlfriend. They want to be called a wife in a real way. Women do not earn the right to become a wife and then they demand to be married. Women will then turn around and hold the relationship hostage. Like we had the woman on the show on Sunday who broke up with her man because he did not want to get married to her. Men get married under 2 circumstances. 1, that she is doing everything correct. And 2, that it is financially inside of his means because the man has to pay for the fucking wedding and supposedly the honeymoon. This isn't a situation where we're going to go to the justice of the peace. We're going to pay a notary. We're going to sign a contract. We're going to turn it into the judge. They're going to file it with the court and then we're good. No, I got to pay for a $50,000 to $100,000 wedding. I got to take 2-3 days off from work. I got to invite all your friends and family, even the people I don't like. I got to be nice to these people that I don't like. God forbid any of your exes show up. I got to be nice to them too. I got to feed all these motherfuckers. I got to pay the caterers. I got to make sure that this day is exactly the way you want it to go. I got to fit your fat ass in this tight ass dress, even though you know that you don't fit in this goddamn dress, but you're going to try to fit your fat ass in this dress. You're going to try to starve yourself to death to fit in the fat ass dress instead of getting a dress that fit your ass. And then after I finish going through all this hell and damnation, you still not going to make me a motherfucking sandwich 2 days after the marriage. So this is what men are thinking about while a woman is forcing the marriage on the man. But look, ladies, if you did what you were supposed to do to be deserving of a wife, you would be fucking married. You not married because you fucked up. You might have got divorced because he fucked up, but you're not married because you fucked up. With every relationship that you have had, you're not married because you fucked up. It ain't him. He's not married because he fucked up. You're not married because you fucked up. First person accountability in the exact same relationship. Nah, Bayside said, yes, fathers are definitely the bad guy all the way to the end. Mom is the angel. However, we're appreciated, but not like mom. Dads are not appreciated the way moms are appreciated. Mom's got, he said Trump's wife doesn't say a word. I got to get on that. Mom's got Mother's Day, Valentine's Day, Christmas, mom's birthday. Look now, what dad got? Dad's got to do for himself on Father's Day. Barely gets a day off. Dad's birthday. And dad is doing for you on Christmas. Dad is doing for you on Valentine's Day. Men are not valued the way women are valued. If dad gets another tie, if dad doesn't have to set up the barbecue for himself, that's it. If you get a happy Father's Day, that's it. Ladies, this year, y'all need to walk past just about every man y'all see and say happy Father's Day, because 9 times out of 10, for all these hoes out here that got children, a lot of these men are dads. So you might as well just walk past like every other man that you pass by and say happy Father's Day. And more often than not, they're going to tell you thank you. Not a lot of them are going to tell you I don't have kids. Most of them got kids, they're just not with them. You should just pass by just about every man and say happy Father's Day. And if they tell you that they ain't got a child, well, good job for being a great man anyway. That's it. If you do that this year, y'all will see a better culture by the end of this year, straight up. Now, when he said Trump's wife didn't say a word, Hillary Clinton didn't say a word neither. Nah. Trump paid $135,000 to get his sausage wet, and his wife did not flinch. Bill Clinton got fired off of his job, and Hillary Clinton didn't flinch. Let the average broke man get home from work 15 minutes late from work, coming straight home because he got a flat, and let me smell your sniff. I'm trying to understand why these females don't understand where the power dynamics come from. Because do you think that after he got past what he went through with his wife, that Trump tried that a second time? Do you think after what Clinton went through that he tried that on Hillary a second time? You know how women get a man to stop cheating? First of all, they don't reciprocate with cheating behavior. Because one-upping somebody, only negative behavior brings back more negative behavior. You stop a man from cheating by finding out why the hell he cheating and then fix it. That's how you stop cheating. But you got to understand that our wants, needs, and desires change every 5 to 10 years. So there is going to be some infidelity somewhere by either the man or the woman. Both of y'all have to be capable of getting through it. You're not going to get past it. You're not going to get past it. He's always going to look at you different. Even if y'all start being intimate again, he's always going to look at you. You're always going to look at him different. But the fact is that in a 20-year relationship, in a 20-year job, you would have gotten sent home 2 or 3 times. You would have gotten suspended at least once. You would have got passed over on a promotion at least once. Same thing in a romantic relationship. You'll find yourself at some point or another recognizing that the relationship that you started with 10, 20 years ago is not the relationship that you have now. It is your job, first person accountability, to not allow your relationship to become bitter. But if you don't have enough value in your relationship, then you're going to allow it to become bitter, blame the other person. Then you're going to break up. You're never going to make it to wife status. But that's your fault that you 35 and not married. That ain't the man's fault that you 35 and not married. You get 5, 7, 800 men a day begging you to be in their life. You're not married by choice. It's a bad choice, but you're not married by choice. And it's not because the men that you're saying no to are bad men. It's just that the men that you're saying no to are not your type. The style of guy that you would prefer to see yourself with, but the style of guy that you're preferring to see yourself with is irresponsible. The style of guy that is your type is a short-term infatuation. The style of guy that you need for long-term commitment is not your type. It is the 499 guys that you say no to. Those are the guys that are your type. The 2 guys that you say yes to, that are the hit it and quit it, the fling, the one night stands, those guys aren't what you need. And that's one of the reasons why we go to the Philippines, because let me touch down in the Philippines 90 days. I'm flying back with a wife. Let me be in America 50 years. Still can't find one of value, but let me be in the Philippines for 90 days. I'm flying back with a wife. and might be traveling the rest of the world with that same wife, where I can't travel to my favorite places inside of my own city and state. Shoot, these women need to tighten up. Basically, I said, barefoot Contessa takes care of her man. He's not complaining, and she, well, taking care of it. She taking care of it. He right. He right. He right. But that's the whole dynamic. That is where we're at. We're in a position where we have forgotten, fellas, we got some responsibilities that we got to take care of. But ladies, there's some responsibilities that y'all got to take care of too. And if y'all pay attention to the responsibilities that y'all are supposed to be taking care of, and y'all start putting more effort into your half of the relationship, y'all gonna see better relationships. And definitely, I mean, if you agree, if you guys disagree, call me out. Tell me what you got to say in the comment section. I want to hear all of it. I want y'all to tell me what y'all think. And if y'all ready for some of those uncomfortable truths about relationships, y'all got to understand we about to do this dirty tomorrow, bro, because I already got the next 4 days up there. Y'all going to be seeing all of the ugly sides of us. So I'm probably going to be flashy colors for the rest of the week. Y'all going to be seeing all the ugly sides of how we got to change the way we do things. And this isn't just, oh, the ladies are wrong or something like that. No. Because, yeah, there's some good qualities in women. There's fantastic qualities in women. I love women. I love the way women do what they do when they're responsible, when they're cooperative, when they're behaving as partners, when they're expressing girlfriend material, wife material. But let me ask you another question though, ladies, because I asked you, what do men value? What does a woman bring to the table that men value? But let me ask you a different question, ladies. Here's one that y'all haven't answered. What are the qualities of a girlfriend? And then what are the qualities of a wife? How do they differ? That is 3 questions, but the qualities of a girlfriend, the qualities of a wife, and how do they differ? Because if you know what the job title is for the girlfriend and the wife, the duties that you are supposed to adhere to as a girlfriend or a wife, if you know what those duties are, then the 4th question that we have to ask you is, why the fuck ain't you doing that from day one? Make sure y'all like and subscribe. I'm curious. Because when we start talking about women that are 28, 32, 46, because they're still single, they're now looking to settle down. You ain't settled down yet. Why do you think that is? It ain't because the men are insecure. It's because the men are tired of y'all bullshit. Okay? Y'all got to understand. And this is probably the only time that I can't say that it goes both ways, because women are not going to be tired of middle-aged men. Women are going to be tired of younger men because the younger men are irresponsible. But the women like to have fun with the younger men. So women want short-term satisfaction from younger men, but long-term commitment from older men. Men are tired of the women's behavior between 25 and 30. So between 35 and 40, we really don't want to deal with the bullshit. That's the difference. That's the one true difference. So I can say that even though I made bad choices 20 years ago, that I can say over the next 5 or 10 years that a woman will tell me that she ain't got no problem with the operation that I'm building. But I can guarantee you that every woman will get a no if she goes and tells the man the history of her body count and her demands on top of that, like a hostage negotiation. It's like, no, we don't want to deal with that. That's like a bank being robbed and trying to convince you to invest your money in that bank. Why the fuck would I do? No, no. How many times have you been robbed over the past month? No, I don't want to do that. Y'all already know you in Tampa Bay, Whiskey North. Okay. Do you want to go to that club knowing that it gets shot up every 2-3 months? No. That's the one place you don't want to go. You would probably go to Club Sky because they get shot up less often. But if you think about some of the clubs down the street from Club Sky that ain't never got shut up, you probably feel more comfortable over there than what you would in a club to get shot up on a regular basis. So likewise, why would a man say yes to a woman that been ran through plenty of dozen times when he could go get a woman that hasn't been? Then the woman that hasn't been is more cooperative than the woman that has been. Almost like a car that's been crashed multiple times, needs an alignment, but you won't get one. That's pretty much the exact same scenario. A car that ain't never been crashed don't need an alignment. But a car that's been crashed a bunch of times need an alignment, but won't get one. No matter how much I say this car need an alignment, car won't get an alignment. I ain't about to fuck with this car because this car gonna cost me more money, because with a bad alignment, costs more money on tires, costs more money on gas. And it's more dangerous for me in the long run, because when I want to go right, it's not going right because the alignment is off. Think about that, ladies. Basically, I said you're just a person that shows up at all the family functions by yourself. Bro, I went to prom by myself and left with everybody else's girlfriend 4 years in a row, matter of fact. When I went to college prom, I had 13 girls accompany me to college prom. I literally walked in like the Godfather from WWF. I opened the door and I let all 13 of my girls in first, and then I walked in behind them, and everybody was like Miss America pageant. And then I had this 3-piece purple suit with the fedora and the cane, and they just knew. But again, I mentored all these women. They weren't actually my girlfriends, but yeah, I was always the single guy that was trying to find better, because I still had that family mindset. And a lot of men have that family mindset. And while we entertain physical engagements with women and hope that those physical engagements turn into an emotional attachment that leads to a family mindset, we end up in situations where she was looking for entertainment and we was hoping for longevity. And because the two parties came together without being clear about our expectations, we are not on the same page. And the guy is doing too much too soon, and the girl is enjoying what she's receiving from the guy until it becomes too much too soon, and the increased quantity of responsibility to be the girlfriend or the wife puts too much pressure on some of these women, and the women bail out of the relationship. Some women self-sabotage because they're not ready for commitment. Men do that too, but ladies, y'all, a lot of times y'all let a good one get away because y'all just wasn't ready to stop. And not too many women. I know they got some women that are sitting over here thinking about this shit right now, and they're like, yup, I remember that one time, but I don't know what I was thinking. And that's the reason why you single right now. Now, can you fix that? Of course, not with the same person. But in your 30s and 40s and 50s, you have to tell yourself that the guy that you want to talk to, next guy that you talk to, that you are going to put all of your effort into being his partner. Whatever he needs, you got that. Because that's going to be the way that you're going to find yourself being most successful. And since I've been telling y'all for the last first quarter of 2025, third quarter of 2024, I've been giving y'all all these financial tips where you can help him. Even if he's a $30, $40, $50,000 a year man, you could take your $30, $40, $50, $60,000 a year woman and put that together and make yourselves a millionaire inside of 10 years. Your goal right now, ladies, is to say, well, fuck, instead of me finding a man that's $100,000 a year, let me just find a man that's got the drive to be a millionaire, and let me just help him get there. put that mentality back into your head. Let me find a man that's got the drive to be successful, and let me help him get there. Because if you help him get there, you're entitled to half of his estate, because he would not be a millionaire without you. Ladies, ask yourself this question. How many men have you broke up with where you made him successful before you left? Don't worry, I'll wait. Because I can tell you right now, most of y'all will think about it and y'all will say, shit, either he was the same status that he was when you found him, or he was worse off when you left. At no point can a woman say that he was more successful when she left than what he was when she found him. But every woman can say, I got something at the divorce. I got something when I left. I got more now than what I had before I met him. I took stuff with me. He didn't let you keep the car. He didn't let you keep the house. You took half his bank account. When a woman comes out of a relationship with a man, she improves. She's got more knowledge. She's got more skills. She's got more resources. Most women get their first house out of divorce, but 0 men come out of their relationship with a woman improved, which puts the burden on women now to show a man what your value is, because if he's not getting nothing out of this shit, what the hell is he paying for? And that's why he said, how about Club Piranha? Well, they ain't got as many. They don't have that many people in Club Piranha. But I mean, if you want to go to Club Piranha, why don't you go to the castle? Because I mean, it's a whole nother atmosphere in there, but ain't nobody shooting nobody at the castle. I know about Club Piranha. He said, not you. Exactly. So this is why I tell the ladies, I'm like, look, if we're not our goal driven, I said to y'all, all of y'all, men and women alike, I said, change your mentality to this mentality specifically, that I am going to be an asset to my network. And in return, my network will be an asset to me. What I get out of my network is what I invest in my network. And what my network gets out of me is what they invest in me. If you tell yourself that on a regular basis, your relationship is part of your network. What are you getting out your boyfriend that you put in? What are you getting out your husband that you put in? What are you getting out your family that you put in? Because if you are not investing into these relationships, but you're getting so much out of them, you've got to ask yourself, why am I not reciprocating? Then you can also tell yourself, well, I see why they stop. I see why they stop trying. I see why they stop contributing. I see why they stop giving me more. I ain't doing enough. You don't water your plants die. You don't feed your dog die. You don't take your kid out the car with the windows rolled up in 120-degree weather, the kid die. If you do not take care of your relationship will die. As I said, yep, the grass is never greener to different shades. And truth of the matter is that even if you jump the fence because it's greener on the other side of the fence, it's only going to stay green if you take care of it. If you jump the fence and you treat the other side of the fence the way you treated the first side of the fence, the grass is going to be brown on that side just as quick. And this is why when women are in a relationship with no titles and they leave that relationship and go get involved in another person with no titles, and that situation is just as bad as the first situation because the common denominator is the person that's not contributing to the relationship. That's when she goes back to the first person talking about I made a mistake. You did. But the one thing you didn't do was fix the mistake, because the one mistake that you had was that you were fucking up all of your relationships because you do not put positive effort into your relationship to make your relationship successful. So while a lot of women are looking for a man with drive and ambition and kindness and dedication and self-sacrificing behavior, these women are not kind and generous and self-sacrificing, and that's why their relationships are failing. That doesn't mean that all women are like that, but the women that are in consistently failed relationships need to really rethink the relationships that they've been in and the common denominator, the common factor in all of their failed relationships. Because you can't blame 10, 20, you have a body count of 2,000, and if 10% of those 2,000 body counts were short-term relationships, you can't tell me that 200 men is at fault for bad relationships with you. Because we could say that if a job has a high turnover ratio, we could say that the job's high turnover ratio is due to a bad work environment. We're not going to say that a job has a high turnover ratio because of bad employees. So likewise, if we're saying that you have a bad turnover ratio with your relationships, we can't say that it's because of all the men that you dated. You have a bad turnover ratio because there's something wrong with you. Take that to the bank, cash that check, and get some change back. Because this is some stuff that y'all need to really think and marinate on. So when the women get 35, 40, 50 years old, you'd have been in a relationship with a man for 2 to 4 years, 5 years, and you want to get married, but he's not ready to marry you. That's when you got to stop and ask yourself, what is he looking for in a wife? And am I doing that on a consistent basis? Because you want the commitment. That's why you want the marriage. You want the contractual agreement that you're entitled to his whole estate if he die and half of his estate if he leave. That's what you want. That's what you want the marriage for. You want the title of wife for prestigious purposes in your network, but you want the contractual agreement of his financial status as wife. That's what you want. Because if it wasn't for that, you wouldn't get married. In states with common law marriage, if you stay with the man more than 10 years, you get all of his shit. Y'all don't got to do nothing but just stay together. Okay? So you want the marriage title. You want the marriage certificate. You want the ring on your finger as a status symbol and your entitlement to his estate. Now, he ain't giving you that. You got to ask yourself, what are you not doing? Because if you wanted a promotion on your job and the boss won't give you a promotion, you would pull the boss aside and say, hey, why am I not getting this promotion? What am I not doing? What am I missing? Why have you passed me over on the promotion so many times? I know I'm qualified. And that's when your boss will critique your work experience. Well, you don't follow instructions. You fighting on the job. You show up late. You leave early. You don't do your job while you're here. Your breaks are too long. Your work ethic is worse when you come back off a break. That's when you start like, damn, my boss was really disappointed with me. He said, I just looked up that club. You just looked up the castle and you see what I'm talking about. Look, I live in Tampa. I know what's going on in Ybor City. I don't just name drop, bro. I don't just name drop. Shoot. But yeah, that you notice that with you getting all that critique from your boss, you know that your boss is like telling you all the stuff that's wrong with you. And then you stop and you think to yourself, well, shit, if he got all these complaints, why he ain't fired me yet? Because your boss wished that you would do better. You've got the potential to be better. Your ass is just too damn trifling to do better. And he just wish that you would do better. You're better than most, but you're not as good as you could be. And as a result, the boss will let you stay, but won't give you any additional improvements in the company until you show more improvement. So men do the same thing in their relationships. He won't leave you. You're doing enough where you're better than most females, but you're not doing enough to be a real girlfriend or qualifiable for a wife. And that's why you're still not getting married. That's why you're still, if you're in the fiance phase, because he got forced into that, you're not going to go into the marriage phase because you didn't really qualify for the fiance phase. because you wasn't being a good girlfriend in the beginning. He put you in the fiance phase because of social pressure, but you're not getting married. Why? Y'all need to think about what y'all not doing. He said, I just wanted to look like. Don't look at the outside of it. Look at the inside. Look at the basement photos. It is a whole nother atmosphere. It is a whole nother atmosphere. You, instead of going to the castle, you probably do better at Double Decker or Coyote Ugly. Or you could go get you some weed gummies from the smoke shop right next to Coyote Ugly, right before you get the pizza from the other side of Coyote Ugly on that same strip. Just in case you was thinking about doing something tonight. Yeah, I know. Never been to Tampa Bay? Shoo. Well, you ain't missing nothing. You ain't missing nothing. You ain't missing nothing. It's a good place to go to get in trouble and end up on probation. But I mean, if you're trying to make yourself a more successful person, you ain't missing nothing. You ain't missing nothing. It's the entertainment for the kids. It's a good place to go. These young bucks, 18 to 25, is good for them. But for the rest of us that's 30 and above, that's trying to make ourselves more successful, it's not. You ain't missing nothing. You ain't missing nothing. Typically, people who spend their adult life at the club don't have a future in mind, and that's why they at the club, which is why mama used to always say, you know what you're getting yourself into based on where you find them. You probably will find a more responsible person at a bank than what you would at a nightclub. He said, well, I'm looking forward to tomorrow. I know you're tired. A good conversation, man. Well, definitely. I'm about to tap out as well. I want to thank you guys for coming to the show. Special shout out to Bayside for hanging in there for as long as he did. 3 hours and 25 minutes. Special shout out to Mr. Satellite. Usman, I know that you guys have a lot of time. Y'all can come in and listen, even if you can't talk. So I really appreciate you guys coming to the show. Danny Stefan, I really appreciate you, because Danny in Romania, special shout out to Romania. He be listening to the show first thing in the morning. So this is like his cup of coffee in the morning. We're like Good Morning America for him. So special shout out to Danny Stefan on the show. I really appreciate that. And then those of you that's been watching us on Twitch as well as Twitter, we really appreciate you guys. Soon as TikTok gets bought out, we'll see what we can do about upgrading and throwing TikTok in here as well. But as it stands right now, we half the time wouldn't even be able to stream. So we're just gonna wait until they finish doing what they're doing on that. In the meantime, we're going to go ahead and wrap things up because we've got a lot of stuff going on for y'all for tomorrow. So I want to get some of that stuff set up and try to get closer to 10 o'clock Central Standard Time. But remember, we're live every night of the week, 10 Central, 7 California, 11 Florida time, 4 a.m. Green Menace time, and 4 a.m. Universal Standard Time. And like I told you guys before, we don't let the sun rise without going live. So if we don't start off at the top of the hour, we will start off before the top of the next. So come in, hang out, start throwing some comments in there before the show, and your comments will be premiered during the intro of the show. And we give y'all some special shout outs as soon as the show starts. So with that being said, I think I said it before, but I'm going to say it again, ladies, as long as the situation doesn't make sense, I'm going to keep asking y'all to make it make sense. So ladies, please make it make sense. About 70% of us are fellas, a male driven podcast from a male perspective. So I greatly appreciate all the support from the fellas, because without y'all, we would not be who we are. With about 26,000 followers. So we're getting up there. It's a slow progress. It's probably because we're mostly controversial, and a lot of our controversial topics put us in a restricted only section. So we don't get as many views. I got to deal with that. Either way, I really appreciate you guys for coming to this and that. Make sure that you like and subscribe and share this with people that you know so that they can see it too, because we're one of the most underrated podcasts that everybody can benefit from. I'm your host, Xander, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between. And I will see you guys tomorrow night.
Higher ground. Used to chase validation, now I validate myself. Building inner strength, putting doubt upon the shelf. No more unnecessary drama, no more wasted time. Climbing higher, constantly making my own climb. Standing on higher ground where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds, raising the bar, breaking ground. My network is my net worth. Choose your company wise. Surround yourself with eagles, not with sheep in disguise. Every interaction is a reflection of my brand. Quality over quantity, that's my personal command. I'm not landing on higher ground where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds, raising the bar, breaking ground. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision, cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield to mediocrity and chaos. I will never I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision, cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield to mediocrity and chaos. I will never yield.